So we can go ahead and begin our little adventure. We have access to this market. We've been out and about buying various items. Take a look at everybody's money at the moment. Very sad, very sad. Not money, health point pool at the moment is quite disappointing. Regardless, there is a number of notable guests here, some of which we care about, some of which we don't. One thing I do dislike, I'll say this now, some NPCs have pictures, some NPCs don't have pictures. If you're given a picture of them, you know they're notable for more than just this encounter. Usually notable for more than just this encounter. So, there's a bunch of NPCs. We've got Baktra, Rakatra, one of Wati's richest and most notorious gourmand. She's keen on any forgotten treats or liquors, or various things to decorate her dining room. We got Basif Aesop, a wealthy coffee merchant, an avid document collector, hoping to uncover truth about his human heritage. Jat, Masakit, and Intef Karam are representative of Wati's Temple of Nephis and Sanctum of Silver and Gold, looking for lost temple records and unique magic items. That was the Four Lanterns, a cocksure band of Endoran explorers participated in the exploration, now seek to sell their loot and maybe buy some items as well. Next up is Hamid Oketi, son of a young noble house, newly returned from his studies in Opara, eager to find nice things to impress his family. And Manat Heshwa is a humorous explorer from Sothis Trading House, keen on acquiring various things to sell. Maru Meshoten and her granddaughter, Namaru Meshoten, an aging dowager and her granddaughter looking for just items of value. Then Maya the Whip, rail thin with iron handshake, an ambitious young armor smith to attend the auction, curious for anything for his shop. And finally, Timinib. I'm assuming the P at the beginning of that is silent. Timinib. A cleric of Pharasma, attending the auction as part of the Grand Mausoleum's representative. Tends to talk to himself a little bit. As you're asking around, though, however, you'll get access to some rumors, giving you the ability to do things. It's a simple diplomacy check made to gather information. You can also use knowledge local to gather information, which is, I assume, what our party will do. Does our boy Cypress have knowledge local? Yes, indeed. So taking 10 with our party members allows you to get most of the things that are relevant. The only thing you have to worry about is some of them are... Oh, what's it called? Sometimes there'll be a list of active rumors. In this case, for example, on this chart, there's a D6 of them. So whenever someone rolls a rumor, you can sometimes both get the same rumor. But in this case, anyone who succeeds at a DC 10 diplomacy check, or anybody who succeeds at a gather information check in this case, saying diplomacy made to gather information means you should just be able to roll any gather information. Usually takes a D4 hours. In this case, it's going to take much shorter than that. Allows you to gather some rumors for every 5 which you exceed it by. You learn additional things. So, Cyrus and Agamu are both going to get like 4 each. Atis is probably going to grab 1, and Shari has a 50-50 chance of grabbing 1. I'm just going to give the party the whole... I would give them all of it, just in case. So first off, rather nice to see the Phrasmans on board with this auction. At least we know the relics are real. Can't trust the veracity of just anything up for sale, no matter how old it looks. A group calling themselves the Silver Chain took me for a fortune on a second-age chest last year. It looked ancient enough, but turned out the thing had only survived a house fire in Anne. Next up, naturally, the Okentis will throw their vulgar coin at anything with a blade. They haven't already spent tonight's share on companionship and liquor, of course. Next up, it's absolutely dreadful the way the church is opening our history to so many foreigners. I hear Hadia Oshep Ahmed is going to increase taxes on travelers beyond the sister cities to recoup the cultural damage. Next up, some of the adventurers who went to the necropolis didn't fare so well, from what I hear. They say the Sunrise fellow were betrayed by one of their own, and some shady lowlifes ambushed the Scoured Hand while they were trying to leave the necropolis. As you can tell, some shady lowlifes didn't ambush them. All of these rumors may or may not be real. Some of them can be plot hooks, some of them can be very important for the party to learn, some of them are straight up lies, but most of them are somewhere in between. Give you a little bit of information, but you kind of have to sort through what's real and what's fake. Continuing forward, did you know that Mummia can help you against mummy rot? I'll never take this up myself. It's made from actual mummies, you know, not to mention illegal. But some of those adventuring types in the cities these days don't have such scruples. And finally, I haven't seen any of the fellows in fancy gold masks tonight. My brother says he's been running around the necropolis. Seen them running around the necropolis at all hours. They're not selling. A pity. They sounded delightfully exotic. Okay. The only thing, I mean, a lot of information for the party, but the most important thing is Mummia is something that I look into. That's probably a craft alchemy check to maybe verify the authenticity of. Anybody can make a craft check, so everybody will be assisting our boy Cypress. Rolled a 10. Even with the assistance, it's not all that great. But we as the GM can look it up and see what it does. I can't recall that at the moment. He's a drug. Gives you some temper hit points. So here's how drugs work in Pathfinder. They have an effect in a period of time they last. For example, this one gives you some temps, some bonuses against disease and curse, and you are fatigued. Of course, there's an addiction problem and a chance to become a ghoul. Okay, that's maybe avoided. Once this effect wears away, you take some damage. Not the end of the world. Or you take... regardless, I don't use it regularly, because 500 gold pieces for this effect, not worth it. But, if you are addiction can be a problem, especially in Pathfinder. It is a fortitude save or will save, depending on the type of addiction, whether physical or mental. It's a problem. But regardless, it will help you against mummies, because it gives saves against curse and disease problems. The whole being fatigued all the time really just doesn't make it work, because you take a penalty to your constitution. Effectively makes this only a +1 bonus. So you're a +1 bonus plus some temps in exchange for some wisdom damage for 500 gold pieces. Never worth it. Most drugs aren't. There are a handful that can be viable. Some other alchemical goods that are worth keeping an eye out for and having some on hand are, of course, you get your acid flask and alchemist fire for their various uses when dealing with swarms. Next up is meditation tea. If someone is under the effect of an ongoing mental control effect, you drink the tea, you get a new save. If you drink the tea, also you get for like an hour, you get a minor bonus to saving throws against them. But really, it's in case someone is like confused or under the effect of compulsion and they get a momentary, either tie them down and pour some tea down their throat, or you give them the tea while they retain a moment of lucidity and hope they can regain control of their mental faculties. Another good way to do that, to help deal with that, is there's a spell at low level called I'm feeling it's on Agamu's spell list. Nope. What is this spell called? Oh, it's a good one. It basically said if someone is under, it lasts a round per level. If someone is under a mental control effect that would has the possibility of them attacking their allies, that ability is suppressed for round per level. So confusion effects, a lot of dominate effects, not so much suggestion, but it's a good ability. It's a good spell for being a first level spell. So, what would I as a player glean from that as a more experienced player? Silver Chain might be someone to keep an eye out for, maybe some bad guys. We learned the Okentis are looking for blades, so if we had any trade goods or any bladed items from the market, that'd be a good idea maybe to look to sell to them. They're going to increase taxes on travelers. might be relevant, might not be. Maybe going in and out of the city could cost some coin later down the line. I'm not too worried about that. They say the Sunrise Fellow were betrayed by one of their own, and of course, Scorched Ham were ambushed. I wouldn't worry too much about that one because the lies on the later part. But Sunrise Fellow, we may have to keep their name in mind. Next up, the whole Mummy thing. We don't know much about that, but we as players know that it's not all that great. However, hearing the fact that they're trying to give advice on dealing with mummies, we might be dealing with mummies not too far into the future, so be aware that those things might exist. And finally, people running around with gold masks in the necropolis at all hours. Probably a group running around in masks at odd hours. Again, most of that information is useless, but it's just kind of catalog that in the back of your mind. Why would they be in the necropolis at all hours? Odds are, if they're normal people, they'd only be around during business hours. Possibly something nefarious? Who knows? It could be that they're good at dealing with undead. So they go around during the odd hours looking to harm them. It could be that they're bad guys looking to do nefarious plots. Again, there's many explanations beyond just they're bad guys to glean from rumors and information like that. So don't always take everything you learn with a grain of salt. So we proceed with the auction. We can look to buy and sell things. In this case, you can do some sort of bluff diplomacy or intimidate to bluff or diplomacy to try and get people interested in it. You can increase the sell price from one to the next. You can, of course, get more than one buyer interested in it to increase the sell price up to 100% of the listed value. And finally, you can buy items for a reasonable price, successful bid. Or you can deter people from bidding with a successful check. Blah, blah, blah. But eventually, and read through the next part of this. As a reminder, all I've done, keep this a little fresh in my mind, is read through the adventure summary and scan the NPC index. I haven't read the entirety of it, but just gave it a quick once-over so I know the relevant NPCs we're going to be going forward. So I haven't read everything, so if there's stuff like development, I'll give that a quick scan as we're going through. Okay. So, bad things are about to happen. First off, I need to delete Cyrus and pull out the new Cypress token, so I don't accidentally copy and paste the wrong stuff going forward. Now, going into this book, as you'll notice, it seems as if we are... There's a number of maps all connected together on one page. It makes it easier for printing as opposed to having a bunch. In my mind, I would probably have done... With how there's 4 different versions of each map, I'll probably have divide this in like 4 quadrants and do it like first version, second version, third version, fourth version, so on and so forth. These 2 maps can be combined together, or these 2 maps can be combined together. Instead of having it all like this, it makes it a little bit more annoying. But we find ourselves in the auction house, kind of just milling about. Maybe off to the side. Let's put ourselves off to the side here. Actually, probably switch around Cypress and Shari. No reason to have cast defensive buffs other than like a mage armor. Mage armor lasts us 4 hours at this point. So when we're not actively doing things, this might be a good... Or that one, that's good enough to go up. So buff duration, the easiest way to think about this is once you get a few levels into your belt, specifically starting at level kind of 4 to the 8 range, keeping tracks of buff work differently. Hour per level buffs are assumed to be up basically the entire time you're exploring dungeons. And then once you get up to 8th level, so 8 hours is the entire adventure / traveling day. If you adventure or travel beyond that period, you have to make checks or be fatigued or take penalties or take damage. So 8 hours adventuring, 8 hours sleeping, plus 8 hours of kind of setting up camp, milling about, resting, relaxing, and doing what you will. So once you hit 8 hours for hour per level buffs, I, as a GM, Assume it's up basically the entire day. Or it should be up for basically every encounter, assuming you're not ambushed at an inopportune time. 10-minute per level buffs. Once you get a few levels under your belt, you cast them at the beginning of the dungeon, and then you don't really worry about them. If you're taking a bit long to do things, in that case, yes, or if something specifically says it takes time, in those cases, yes, then you will need to re-up your buffs. But short of that, if you're relatively swift in doing things, don't worry too much about it. Minute per level buffs. Those are things you throw up before you open a door to a room. So you suspect a fight's going to be behind this, maybe a boss fight, maybe a regular fight. You cast the buff, you kick open the door. If you got those buff duration running, usually when you finish a fight, you look around with detect magic, maybe scoop up any magic items that look interesting or look powerful in terms of their numeric aura. Each item has a caster level associated with it. You can tell the kind of range of caster levels. So if anything looks high, you scoop that up. But then you kind of leave mundane loot behind and expect to come back and get it later once your short-term buffs run out. So, for example, maybe at the beginning of a dungeon, you'll get like 8 minutes of a buff. You'll try and get 3 or 4 combats done in those 8 minutes, assuming about a minute per combat. But that means out of combat healing is going to be a bit more of a problem. So that's how buff durations work for me. In this case, we're going to an auction just in case something bad happens, because of course we're going to an auction. Bad things always happen at auction. I would have cast Mage Armor ahead of time, but my 10-minute per level buffs I definitely wouldn't have. One thing to note, if you are putting your players on a map, they're then expecting to have combat of some sort. So, the reason I would not have initially put the players on this map is to kind of let them lower their guard a little bit, let them roleplay, let them have some fun, before putting them on a map. Because as soon as a map appears, something happens that's going to involve moving on a grid. Usually that is combat, sometimes it's just dealing with traps. But I don't want the players to be clued in and start casting buffs ahead of time. Even though my players aren't going to metagame like that. And your players shouldn't either. Just something to keep in mind. I don't like moving players to maps until the last possible second. But there's some knocking at the front doors of our lovely little auction that seems to get really frantic after a few moments. Seems to be a couple of people are very much looking to get inside. And as that happens, you can go ahead and pull out the map and say, go ahead and position yourselves as appropriate. We've got ourselves stuff from the auction. There is a bunch of NPCs just about the room. And as the door is opened by a servant, a bunch of zombies are going to stroll in. Okay. So the good news is it's just a bunch of zombies. Zombies are not that big a threat. So in this case, maybe one channel would take care of them. What was it? One good channel for Lagamu's good old negative channel here. Yeah, one good channel. Zombies are unlikely to be able to resist this, so they just all pop, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. So, some servants were injured during this period of time, so the rest of the party would probably run over, pull them out of the way, stabilize them, make sure they're okay. No big deal there. But it does shock a lot of the commoners as they look to flee out the back door. Let me go ahead. Do I have my snipping tool? I do. As a result of that, a few rounds after the ruckus has started, the smashing into the zombies and the trampling of the people, there's a big section over here towards the front that starts collapsing, dealing some damage to anybody inside, but at this point we're probably all huddled inside, looking to maybe... The doors have been destroyed, but keeping that closed. And if we take a quick look, as a result of this, apparently some people ran out the door like total idiots. Some people had the unfortunate issue of getting a roof collapsed on their head, and currently they need help getting dug out. Okay, let's take a look at Shari. Take a look at your heavy load. One of the few times when a heavy load actually comes in handy. You can move equal to 1/2 your heavy load per minute. So within 2 rounds, they could unbury one person. Considering each person is about under 400 pounds. So before 5 rounds later, and lo and behold, we are good to go. Next up, apparently, is Area A3, as the events kind of happen back to back. They take 2d6 damage each from the collapse, assuming, of course, they don't die immediately. They each have 12 hit points, so you assuming you don't roll max damage. Each minute, they're going to take 1d6 points of non-lethal damage, looking to start taking rather large amounts if the party doesn't deal with that. But again, not that big a deal. And then as we continue to look forward, 6 rounds after the zombie enters, so this is 1 round after the collapse of the roof, 6 crawling hands will burst free of their bonds and scuttle into the penny jackal. And once again, another simple burst. These things have 9 HP. If we take a look at crawling hands. Crawling hands. Let's go and do Archives of Nethys here. Blind Sense 30 will save +2, which means they need a 19 or higher to save. They have the grab feature, but they are diminutive size, so they can't grab anything of... they can hold creatures up to medium size. Okay, pardon me then. They grab them, they don't constrict them, they just grab them with a +0 to grapple. These ones seem to be specifically going for Menya, the armor smith. Maybe bear him some ill will, regardless, one quick channel, lo and behold, problem solved. We then take the people out of the collapse. Hopefully that's a non-issue. Next up. How long after that do we have? Resting among the other grave goods in one of the Canny Jackal's storerooms, an elaborate sarcophagus. They opted to retrieve and sell it. Never realizing the sarcophagus had stuff inside. 10 rounds after the initial zombie attack. The sarcophagus is going to burst open, and nothing is going to appear, and we're all going to look around and go, huh? And then someone is going to get smacked by an invisible mummy, and bad things are going to happen. Do I want to roll this encounter out? Probably. So at this point, I'm assuming that Agamu's going to be kind of standing here. Shari is going, and Cypress, maybe even Big Green. Or actually, Big Green doesn't not appearing in this adventure. Up in this building over here. So these two are over here, maybe off to the side, and one of in this room over here, a sarcophagus will or maybe over here, be more appropriate. The doors here haven't here. Sarcophagus is gonna burst open. All of us are gonna go, huh? And let's roll initiative with that as we go ahead and look to add everybody to the turn tracker. Let's roll get some rolls going. 20, 1, 2, 3, 5. Unfortunately, the bad person is going to be first. 4. Or no, not 4. Atis gets a +7 bonus, so it's going to be 11. Then we go 10. Shari gets +1 for 16. Cypress is +3 for 8. Then we need to find a bad guy. Go to the free assets and creatures and monsters, as per usual. We're looking for something very specific, which is not here. Okay, we're going to go down to zombies. Actually, we'll use this vampire token. This is invisible. We'll give him the old ninja icon. What I like to use for my invisibility, and we are unfortunately gonna have to fight a mummy sooner rather than later. Okay, you are +0, which means you got a 19 on your initiative. Okay, first up is the bad person. All creatures within 30 feet that see the mummy must make a will save or be paralyzed by fear. We can't see the mummy. No big deal. Mummy only has a 30-foot move speed, 20-foot move speed. Boom. At this point, I would feel bad about just hitting. I know mummies have mummy rot. Mummy rot is absolutely horrific. Fort save, onset 1 minute, frequency once per day, 1d6 con, 1d6 charisma. Cure is both a disease and a curse, which means you both have to remove both if you want to get them removed. Again, it's horrific. You also can't heal the target unless you succeed on a high caster level check. So, in this case, I would allow Agamu and anybody within 5 feet of this mummy to kind of make a perception check to smell it. Smell something's going down. I would also allow Big Green, his scent would go off, and realize something very unnatural is within 30 feet. Okay. In which case, I would then have Shari start moving over, and we now smell something. We identify the square that it's in, because you're within 5 feet with scent, you automatically identify the square. So Shari is then going to, I guess, stab it with her. It's gonna have to be a melee weapon because, unfortunately, the only way you can identify the square exactly is if you are base to base. So we're gonna try and use this good old scimitar. That is a 50-50 chance to hit, which is rather unfortunate because that is a critical threat. One will hit, two will miss. One will hit. They'll do a little less damage than we'd think. They mummy, so these have 20 AC and 60 hit points. Rather nasty affair at this level. 28 damage, a little less than you'd think, but still a good chunk. We also have Big Green who can make an attack roll. We'll do a bite just in case. Again, 50-50 mischance. This one will also hit, do less damage than you'd think. Of note, Mummy Rat is only on its slam. So we don't have to worry about biting it accidentally. But usually biting undead is a terrible idea. Next up, Atis. Something's over there, we know that. So targeting this square here, we're going to go ahead and plop down a glitter dust. Of note, undead, not inherently immune to being blind. So blinding skeletons, something I've done regularly in the past. So we're going to go ahead and give this creature a will save. Nat 1 will be an automatic failure, so you are now blind. There is an eye token down here. And most importantly, this creature has now been outlined. Notably, it has not been revealed. The mummy rat is still not needed to be rolled. But it is now outlined, so it is now no longer a 50-50 mischance for anything like this. Next up, Agamu. I do not appreciate being so close to you. Do I, by perchance, have knowledge religion? That's Cyprus. You're not Cyprus. The Gamus who we're rolling here. I do not. Huh. Okay. So, it looks undead, it smells like undead, and it came from a sarcophagus. I'm going to assume it's undead. So let's go ahead and have you roll a channel to harm undead. Not great on the damage roll, but still I mean, actually, average is what, 7 plus 6, so average is 13, so a little lower than average. And if we go ahead and roll a d20 for their save, they do save for half, and instead only take 6 points of damage. And finally, Cypress. Go ahead and get him. These doors are broken, as we well know. I'll go to here, and I will target that thing with a lovely bomb. Of course, as we know, we can select out squares to not be targeted, assuming there are any people. Probably target out this square here, or these two here, because there might be people in these chairs. And maybe just kind of anyone around. We get 5 squares targeted, so maybe all of these. Regardless, we should be good to go. We now go to Cypress and go to your attack rolls. You have an Alkahest Bomb. 19 touch for 19 points of damage. Okay, we're just short of taking it down. Mummies do not have any inherent vulnerability or resistance to acid. Unfortunately, bombs are natively fire damage, so you do an extra 50%, but this specific fire is not that. So, we're going to go ahead and make a slam attack. Well, my targeting is fairly simple. I am going to target the person who did the most damage to me. I'm not unintelligent, but I have the intelligence of a small child. Maybe like a, 7 or 8-year-old child. Not a toddler by any means, but still young. So, person who hurt me the most, I'm gonna try and murder. In this case, it was Shari. So Cypress pulling in a close second. So GM roll 1d20. I am plus 14 to hit, plus I'm invisible, so I'm attacking flat-footed. Oh, I'm not truly invisible. So I'm attacking flat-footed. You know what I'm doing. So, not flat-footed, but I still am plus 14 to hit, which is easily going to hit. And do a stupid amount of damage. I'm going to be power attacking. Power attack means I have minus 2 to hit in exchange for getting plus 4 damage. So I'm going to do it 1d8 plus 14 points of damage. 20 points of damage, and a fortitude save. Please, please, Shari, roll high, for the love of God. Or gods, in this case. Ah! Okay. So, she will have to deal with that in a minute. Luckily, the fight is effectively going to be over at this point, as one of Big Green and or... Yeah, 2014 is enough to take him down. Unfortunately, we now have to deal with mummy rot. Which means, odds are, we're going to ask around and try and find a cleric as soon as possible. Another problem, we would all have to make will saves or be paralyzed for D4 rounds. Big Green, do you make your will save? Roll high. Yeah, okay, Big Green has made his will save. Some of the others may have been paralyzed by fear for a D4 rounds. That could have been bad. We had a very good party composition against that problem, but imagine, if you will, the party wasn't able to immediately identify their square, and instead, just someone gets walloped, half the party gets paralyzed by fear, and the person who got walloped gets mummy rotted, and then you go mummy rot a second person, it becomes a problem. I do have a picture of the lovely, lovely mummy lady. I can go ahead and show off. So when she finally appears, she looks like this. I mean, a lady wrapped in bandages. Surprisingly with hair. I'm assuming that's a wig, considering the state of her. But I'm not going to ask too many questions. I don't care to know the answer. We are, of course, still ready for any further combat, but if there's no clerics in the immediate vicinity who can cast healing magic on us, we are going to move on. So, in exchange for doing some of these bonuses, if we rescue, the following day, so tomorrow, we'll get a collection of potions that the person was able to sell, including an Oil of Hold Portal, a Potion of Aid, a Potion of Sanctuary, and a Potion of Spider Climb. In exchange for us recruiting Maru and Namaru from the collapsed scaffolding. We're going to receive an invitation once the certain conditions are met. Receive a reward of 600 gold pieces of diamonds. And offers to make a rather large donation to a temple of their choice, granting a +2 bonus on all charisma checks when dealing with that faith in Wati. Odds are you're going to choose either Nephthys or Pharasma. In this case, we'll probably choose Pharasma. Though if there is a temple dedicated to Ra, which there is not, I don't think, we'll do that instead. We save that person from the crawling hands, of course. Eventually, we'll be given a suit of Mist Mail and get a 25% discount on other armor we may want to have made. We'll take advantage of that eventually. And we will eventually be given some stuff for dealing with the mummy as well. A dagger +1, a scroll of burning hands, color spray, grease, and a scroll. This one seems, however, to come in almost immediately. So, first thing we need to do is first see how much charisma and con damage this Shari has taken. Okay, that's manageable. So, not that big a deal. If it was a bigger amount, for example, 6 con Shari would have basically been unusable. But for now, apparently what's happening here is kind of happening all over the city. Howls of rotting lungs and screams of mortal fear seem to echo across the city, and it's clear the Sunburst Market isn't the only location under siege. Without saviors, hundreds will die, perhaps thousands. It will take several days before the town guard and military wing of the Church of Pharasma can coordinate plans to end the blight, make the city safe again. Why, of course, it takes them days to do that instead of a bunch of clerics just going out and starting channeling to harm undead, I don't know. But somehow it seems that 4 idiots who were basically nobodies but a week or two ago have to go out and save the city. Just ridiculous. But, again, of course, we are looking to spread our name and, of course, deal with undead. One of the best people, or probably some of the best people in the town capable of dealing with this. So, of course, we'll take up on the call of adventure to help us out. Maybe we'll be able to restore ourselves to better situation. Ah! Of course, we're going to be immediately going to a Church of Pharasma, whichever one's nearby. Church of Pharasma, Nephthys, or anybody else is nearby. It's probably going to be a Temple of Pharasma. We're going to head over to try and see if we can get this curse removed. And lo and behold, because of the panic in the situation and because we volunteered our assistance in aiding these affairs, we are offered free healing at the Grand Mausoleum. Now, you as a GM may say free healing, that means, you may expect that means only hit points. I, as a GM, say screw that noise. If I'm going out and dealing with the city, the least you can do is offer me lesser restorations and cure diseases. So, off we go to go deal with these issues. Luckily, Shari will be healed of her ability damage in dealing with this mummy. The following events are encounter-based, includes guidelines on when and where they should take place. These can be run in any order you wish, but the PC should complete the encounters for Part 1 before venturing into Part 2. And because, of course, okay. We have no direction at the moment, but going to the city is where is our plan at the moment. Disaster strikes, of course, there's panic in the streets. This is going to be represented by a panic level. Adjusting the modifier for settlements, whatever, no big deal. The players are not, of course, going to know the panic level, so I'm not going to tell you what level it's at. Of course, your actions can raise or lower this number. there's a number of systems or subsystems throughout the various adventure paths that have a similar. You're going to be given a number. The party can raise or lower this number based on their actions, and at the end of the adventure, or at the end of that section, based on whatever that number is, whether being higher or lower, you'll get rewards based on a tiering system. And the campaign I'm running with my friends of mine, we have a very similar system. It's defense points. They're trying to defend a location, so they're trying to raise this number as high as possible. Not that they know it, and if they fail to do so, then the city is in peril, and they're struggling at the moment because they're doing other things. What this, of course, means, however, in my mind as a player, the city is under attack. You do not get to rest after every encounter. You, of course, shouldn't rest after every encounter to begin with, but we need to be very, very frugal with our consumables. We didn't know how big the situation was, so I was a little bit more happy to just kind of throw them out as compared to normal. So in this first encounter, I probably spent a couple of extra channels than I would like. I spent a little bit of spell casting, a couple of bombs. Not that big a deal. But as we continue forward, casting 10-minute per level buffs is going to be harder to do. We can, of course, reward roleplay with exceptional roleplay or clever resolutions with extra points of panic reduction as you see fit. And, of course, because of certain events, it can never be reduced below 1. Every night at sunset, the panic level increases automatically. If we spend a day doing nothing, increase it by more to spur the players into action. While the panic level is once the panic level is sufficiently high, once per hour, roll random encounters. If it drops below a certain threshold, roll every 2 hours or 1 hour every night. Once it reaches a certain level, things return to normal. And of course, we gain a huge bonuses based on how we end the adventure. We're looking, of course, to try and reduce it as much as possible. So, presumably, once we're at the Temple of Pharasma, this is a creature approaches us. Presumably a gamin. He may have seen something that is going on. Maybe he didn't. Let's go and continue reading. Blah. Okay. So, a creature will appear before us if we go to Pathfinder Noisy Psychopomp. It looks kind of like this, a raven with a little mask on. As a player, you may not immediately know what that is. However, I know what that is. So we're going to go ahead and have our good boy Cypress roll a knowledge check on that thing. So-called knowledge planes, that sounds weird. What the heck is that? 22, that's enough to identify noisy psychopomps, specifically because this creature is a valid familiar. If we go down here, it's probably listed somewhere. No. But psychopomps are generally neutral, tiny outsiders, extraplanar psychopomps. They'll go, hey, what's a psychopomp? You may require a knowledge check, either knowledge religion or knowledge planes in this case. Psychopomps are true neutral creatures that basically serve Pharasma, the Lady of the Graves. They hate undead and anything that is undead related, undead adjacent, anything that pursues immortality, extending life beyond natural means. You'll learn some of its abilities, most importantly, invisibility at will, self only, plus speak with undead and some other nonsense. But it seems to be speaking to us in a weird hodgepodge of languages. Some bits of it we understand as common, some bits of it we understand as abyssal, celestial, and wow, okay, that's convenient. So technically, Cyprus can understand the entirety of it, but the whole thing seems to be odd. Be begging for help to the party in some way. Agamu will speak up. Calm now, creature. We understand that you need help. The town, of course, is in grave danger. Undead roaming the streets and all that. But if you were willing to take a moment, take a breath, we take a drink of water if you're capable of it, figure out what's going on, and tell us in a slow and methodical way, we might be able to offer you assistance, and if not ourselves, we can look to direct you onto someone who is able to. You're in a Temple of Pharasma, after all. We are easily able to do what we need to do. So, of course, I'll take 10 on my diplomacy check. And quite easily succeed. Oh, this creature looks a little bit different than normal. Instead of having the mask like so, just slightly remove. It looks like this. Which, honestly, I find cooler. Go ahead and snip the picture of my map again. Oh, okay. It my friend, oh god, what was his name? Timonib. We've met Timonib. Of course, he was at the auction earlier. He recognized someone at the auction, a member of the Silver Chain. He called them thieves or scoundrels or some sort of evil people. Uh, he followed the agent back. He was trying to figure out where they were going, trying to figure out what's going on. I believe he followed them back to their hideout, possibly. However, he was eventually captured by strange masked figures before being dragged underground. Please, please, try and save him. He's powerful. He's important. He can help you out. Most importantly, I want him to live. Okay, okay. Priest of Pharasma in our pocket is always a good thing. And, of course, dealing with any masked fellows. Considering what we know of them, they are around at all hours, and now we know them to be well, we don't know if it's a golden mask fellow. Did they have golden masks? Let's please scroll down and see if the answer to that question is yes. Page 21. Guys have no. Yes. Yes, indeed they do have golden masks on. So these golden mask people are nefarious in some way. Related to the Silver Chain, possibly? Considering he's following a Silver Chain person? Who's to say? Regardless, we will not worry too much about it. But nefarious nonetheless. We'll be given the location and put it on our list of things to do. Take a quick look through various events. Oh! Another thing we have the possibility of doing before we have that event happen is there were tracks leading through the market that seem to be where the zombies came from. We could easily track them back. It's relatively trivial difficulty for us. We would then follow it back, eventually finding a cart lying on its side up ahead. Most of its load appears firmly in place. A body lies beside it, covered in blood and twisting in death. I would probably have a Tease slap a mage armor on old Shari there, which we can go ahead and mark as have mage armor. Do have mage armor as a common buff. That will give it a bonus to its... Oh, that's the wrong person. Power attack, where is Big Green? There we go, Big Green. Mage armor. Giving it an AC now of 25. And we say, go over there and deal with that problem. Taking a look around, it seems that half the sacks are filled with moldy grain, cheddar pottery, and jugs of long-hardened paint. However, beneath it all, there seems to be a hidden compartment that seems to be ready to burst open. Peculiar scent of cedar oil and incense, both used in mummification rituals. Also, some zombies are milling about. Again, we send Big Green forward. It has only on a nat 20 will the creature be able to hit him. Trivializes the encounter, and we don't have to expend anything else out of it. We loot the body, of course. We look around. We find a silver chain worth 50 gold pieces, probably related to the Silver Chain Gang, along with 50 gold pieces on the belt. Oh, with the knowledge local check that we're going to take 10 on, we identify them as part of the Silver Chain Gang. Both powerful gang of grave robbers and artifact smugglers. The hand of the honest man is also in a secret compartment, which we easily find, as well as jewelry taken from the corpses. Okay. Page 62 will tell us what the hand of the honest man does. Let's go find that. Hand of the honest man. The mummified hand of a person... honest person punished for crimes he didn't commit. While you wear this around your neck, if you're targeted by a curse or misfortune effect, such as a witch's misfortune or evil eye, it is instead transferred to the hand for no ill effect. It retains the curse until removed with a removed curse or similar effect. You receive a +2 bonus on capital level checks to remove curse stored in the hand of the honest man. If you get hand of the honest man, will the curse instantly transfer this curse to its wearer. You only store one curse at a time. If the wearer is targeted by another curse while it is stored, a new curse takes effect. Okay. You're riddled with guilt while wearing it, and you take a -2 penalty to bluff checks while it is on your neck. Well, it's worth some money. We're probably going to end up selling that, but for the moment, it might not be the worst. No, I don't want to. I was going to say, if we think we're going to be encountering mummies, it might not be the worst idea to put it on Cypress or someone else who's not both invested in bluff or good at charisma in case you need to assist. So Cypress is probably going to be the best one to put it on. But in this case, because it is any curse effect and it automatic, there's no like saving throw or anything. I'm not gonna put it on because the worst possible situation would be nat 20ing a saving throw and then going, oops, never mind, it automatically transfers to the hand and now you have to pay to get it removed. That would just be a slap in the face. So that's why I'm not going to put it on. Okay, panic in the streets. As we continue down the way, we will also have the opportunity to do other various actions. Do we get anything else? The answer is reducing the panic level by 1 for defeating these roaming undead. Sorry, I'm just reading through various events. So, next up, as we probably start making our way immediately to the area where the guy was taken captive. Along the way, this event could happen at any point. This is event 2. It seems like a group of youngsters are currently in the process of looting local shops, taking advantage of the chaos. A middle-aged man is pushed out into the street from a broken open door, beneath a hand-painted sign that reads, Sun-Ripened Teas. Some of them seem to be threatening the man, while the rest of them seem to be dealing with problems. Honestly, makes things nice and easy. We could settle this nicely, but Atis is not in the mood for niceties at this point, especially when we're dealing with rude fellows. How do I want to? What do I want to say exactly? Let's go along the lines of decided to take advantage of this unfortunate situation and try and rob stores, did you? Yes, I get you're young, and you might not be the most mature or intelligent of creatures. Nonetheless, it's the stupidity of robbing stores in this situation in a town that's focused on Pharasma worship seems like sheer, again, stupidity. Not only is it a crime what you're doing, but anybody that looks upon you will identify you as possibly in league with whoever started this issue. Necromancers, perchance? Ally of necromancers, perchance? Pharasmans take great offense to that sort of thing, and Pharasma herself, the person that will judge you when you move on to the afterlife, takes even greater offense to this situation. My recommendation, stop what you're doing, return what you've stolen now, and beg for forgiveness. Better yet, help out those who are currently in danger. And maybe, just maybe, the Pharasmans might look the other way to your unfortunate inclinations early on. Alternatively, the other option, we get into fisticuffs, you stop us from trying to save this city, make things more difficult for us. Of course, we will easily smash you guys unconscious. We have a dinosaur and a lady that doesn't mind smacking a few heads about. And you have what? A few youngsters with clubs? Rather trivial for us to take care of. So, do the smart thing, listen to my advice, and maybe, just maybe, we'll all walk away happy. I'll take 10 on that, because honestly, that was, I like that argument. What is her take 10 on Intimidate? Her take 10 is going to be a 23, which, as it turns out, is not only good enough to disperse the crowd, but we are able to convince them to help return what they stole and help them out. And in exchange for dispersing the crowd, we reduce the panic level by a certain amount. And we are offered some Sage's Tea, which I have no idea what that does. Seer's Tea. On. When the tea is brewed, the drinker can read the patterns at the bottom of the tea, gaining the benefits of the Augury spell. Is a third caster level. Additionally, unbrewed tea can use an extra material component when casting Augury, removing the need for a focus. In this case, the caster instead reveals information as if she had cast divination instead. Oh! That sounds cool. Divination and Augury are both spells that allow you to... they're divination spells that allow you to glean information. Taking a step back, we are currently in the Age of Lost Omens. The death of Eridan, the death of a god, happened recently, within the past 100 to 200 years. He was originally a human from the ancient land of Aslant. Purple hair, or purple eyes, black hair. Common of many people in those time, being the best. These were the epitome of humanity. Stat-wise, they get +2 to every stat and the feat and skill, as opposed to just +2 to a single stat. It's incredible. But he eventually became a god somehow. He had a bunch of trials. There's a bunch of lore around him. Regardless, dropped the Starstone, made it into the Mausoleum in Absalon, A big deal. A big deal because he was a human that became a god and was very important through a bunch of different lore. Regardless, he disappeared. He's dead. Or at the very least, none of the clerks that worship him have gotten any spells from him in hundreds of years. Also, around the same time, all prophecies about this time period and going forward just stopped being useful. So back in the day, you used to be able to predict something hundreds of years in advance and be like, oh yeah, that's going to happen at some point. But nowadays, long-term divinations just aren't a thing anymore. Again, the age of lost omens. We can't know omens for the future. But divination spells such as augury or divination, augury gives you information relating to, like, good or bad. You ask about a course of action you're going to take within the next short period of time. The GM will tell you if it's either a good idea, a bad idea, or both, or neither. Divination is a little bit more direct. You ask a question to your deity or an agent of your deity, or something along those lines. These spells are all cast asking somebody in power, so your answer will be different depending on who you're asking. For example, lawful good deities will give you a vastly different answer from demon lords. But usually the information is helpful in some regard, and they can give you a short phrase or rhyme or mystery or cryptic something or other. So, some cool stuff here. Nonetheless, 550 gold would probably end up selling it if I was playing this game, but again, neat. The next event we're going to skip, but just so I don't forget it, let's take a quick read through all of this. It doesn't matter. Have we dropped the thing enough? We have not, no. Okay, so off we go to Area F, unless something is going to stop us. I need to take a quick look at the world map. Embers Market. Grand Mausoleum is just across the way. Area A is there, so B is here, so that's where we went. Probably went to the Mausoleum after that. Then we're going to Area F, which is where? Over there. Yeah, we're not going to any other place. So we're just going straight to Area F. Oh, by the way, the map in the top right, this map is the one we'd be using to fight the zombies in. This map will come up later. Not every encounter does have a listed map associated with it. For example, these are maps A, B, E, and F. So encounters C and D don't have maps associated with them, but are still important nonetheless. Quickly scan through. Okay. So, if you have to give me just a moment while I drink some water, also read through the information about the area we're going to go to. As we're going to the poor districts within the harbor. Yes, I know why we're going to this location. Okay. Silver Chain, old criminal organization. Take its name from the first major score its members made. Okay. So we're going to find ourselves in this location here, an abandoned brickworks. As we quickly look and see. We find ourselves in this main area to start. Two scarred mud brick walls and a half dozen crumbling clay kilns are all that remains of the building that once stood in this weed-choked lot. Boarded up scorched doors stand in the southeast corner where the walls join. Taking a look around, or taking a quick look from the exterior of the building, the doors to the old office appears boarded shut. However, with a craft carpentry or perception check, which is trivial for us to make, it is quite easy to notice that it is perfectly functional in its current state, though probably locked from a distance and judging by the state of the lock. How are we going to deal with these guys? The answer is we are just going to attack them. Yep, no reason to do anything fancy. The 20 hit points and 16 armor class does not a difficult encounter make. So there's only 2 of them. These are rogues, so if they are going to be able to get into flank, then there could be problems with that. The problem is they are not very good at fighting. I mean, without their sneak attack, they do quite trivial amounts of damage. So for now, we're not going to worry about it. But we're going to go ahead and head into the office down below. Recognize that the floorboards of this ramshack soot-stained office have been pried up and used to construct a crude staircase leading underground. The air is quite musty. And apparently there's 3 kegs of saffron, which are 150 gold pieces each inside, apparently looted from a recent job. As we descend the staircase, presumably going to around here. Unless there's something else that is more obvious. There is no, there is not. The stink of mildew and stale incense fills the air in this long chamber. Sputtering lanterns provide just enough light to reveal the peeling paint on the walls. And a floor covered in sand. A rickety staircase leads up to the north, while sturdy doors exit the hall to the east and west. As we descend the staircase, we do notice that it is rather rickety and quite creaky. Making stealthing down it a bit harder, but we're not stealthing, we're just walking. Makes things nice and easy. Okay. As we descend the staircase, however, we're going to take a quick perception check around, and we check our perception check bonuses now. Gamu, what is your number? Plus 14 with guidance means we do identify that this area is trapped with a pitfall trap. My favorite part about pitfall traps like this, and it's smart to do, especially if you're designing them yourself, this one only triggers if 100 pounds are put onto it. So you may have someone in the front that's like a small-sized character that doesn't have a whole lot of gear on them, that just straight up doesn't trigger the pitfall trap. You got your halfling rogue who's scouting ahead a little bit, just doesn't see it, doesn't trigger it. Tells the rest of the party it's fine. As the party comes in behind him, they just all fall in this pitfall. Hilarious in my mind. But in this case, we'll see it, we'll disable it. We will, however, as we're disabling it, quickly open it a little bit to see if anything's at the bottom. There's many a adventure in Pathfinder where the GM will put treasure or important items down at the bottom of a pitfall trap. So even if you see a pitfall trap and can disable it, crack it open and look at the bottom, just in case. Next up, we're going to kick open the door and go left, because it's the first door in the hallway and makes sense in my mind. Cracked ceramic tiles cover the wall and columns of this expansive chamber. I was going to say explosive chamber. It might not be explosive chamber. We don't know yet. In center of this room, iron posts connected by chains delineate several smaller subsections, each crowded with boxes, crates, urns, and sarcophagi. Think of soot and leather smell of death hangs in the air. There's a creature that has appeared. Let's go ahead and go to page 90. 92 in this case. This is improperly... Oh, look! Ew. It is a bunch of internal organs and viscera that have risen out of a canoptic jar. Ew. Okay. Let me quickly read through what it does. Actually, we can do so together if I want to go ahead and Google this creature. Is a Henu. A collection of cast organs rolls and squeezes against itself, writhing massive viscera that hovers in the air. It has life sense, which means it can sense living things if vulnerable to channel energy. Neat. Autonomy, DR5, and immunity undead traits. It also has canoptic consumption and distraction. Or can actually consume a single organ from the body of a helpless creature. We're not going to be helpless. No need to worry. As it is just a collection of organs and flesh, it moves in a similar way to a swarm. It's not subject to critical hits or flanking. It is immune to any spell effect that targets a single creature. It also takes bonus damage from channel energy. Odds are we'd ask about odd anatomy and and its attacks. We'd ask about canoptic construction. Why does it have distraction? That's a swarm thing. Normally that's on its attacks, so probably here on its attacks. In reality, it's just a sack hit points. I'm not too worried about it. But it could do some damage to the party if they are not careful. I would probably put up my defensive buff, specifically talking about stuff like not false life, but my defensive spell. Shari, there we go. Get up a couple of bark skins. Can I cast 2 bark skins? I can cast 2 bark skins. Cast one on herself and one on her dog. Bark skin. Not a common buff. What the heck? That's annoying. We have to Google how bark skin works. +2 increase for every 3 levels above 3rd maximum. Okay, so it's still +2. Noticeably, this is an enhancement bonus to your natural armor. How does buff stacking work? Buff stacking, or things that have the same category generally don't stack. So, for example, leather armor and mage armor both give an armor bonus. They don't stack. A shield and the shield spell both give a shield bonus. They don't stack. The shield spell and an armor bonus, like mage armor, do stack. One gives an armor bonus, one gives a shield bonus. In this case, this is an enhancement bonus to natural armor, which will stack with a normal bonuses to natural armor, or with a standard natural armor that most creatures have. Go to Big Green now, and we set up him getting a bark skin. It is a natural armor bonus. It is an enhancement bonus to natural armor of +2. Noticeably, there's an item called an Amulet of Natural Armor that would not stack with the Barkskin spell. Also, Bold Strength is an enhancement bonus to Strength that would not stack with a Belt of Strength, which also is an enhancement bonus to Strength. But look at this guy's AC, 27 AC. He is going to trivialize. Let's talk about AC. For example, AC is normally, when I say AC is a trap, I mean beyond the low to mid-low levels. So, like, maybe 3 to, like, 7 to 9. 9 being kind of the upper end of what's capable. Usually, like, the 4 to 7 range. Plus or minus some, depending on your build. Outside of that, AC is generally a trap. It costs way too much to invest in. And your return on your investment is not incredibly substantial. Let me go ahead and show you a chart. Pathfinder average monster stats. There's a table here that I use regularly. Reddit post, you go to the first link, and this here, V-Series with statistics. It has a bunch of different statistics from a bunch of different V-Series. This is the information you're kind of looking for. So, you should kind of look at the mean and median. Mean is, of course, you've all been to elementary school / middle school. You know what mean, median, and mode, max, and min do. Mean and median. Mean tells you the average. However, there are a lot of creatures that skew it. There's a lot of caster creatures that have low AC, and some just stupidly high defensive creatures. So the median slash mode are generally what I like to reference a little bit better depending on this. So, at 4th level, the average AC of a creature is around 17. You can also see the attack bonus of their first melee attack. Their attack bonus averages about a 7. So as you go up in level, if you notice, their attack bonus is going up by about 1 to 2 per level, which means for every level you increase, you need to get about 1.5 AC. Spoiler alert, assuming you want to increase your offenses as well, your defenses are never going to increase at that rate. Because investing in defense is exponentially more expensive. It costs 1,000 and 4,000 and 9,000 and 16,000 to increase your armor bonus by enhancing your armor. It costs 2,000 and 8,000, then 18,000 to get a ring or a necklace slot magic item. It's really, really difficult to increase your AC fast enough to keep up with this chart. Once you get, as I said, beyond level 7, for example, this guy's a plus 13 to hit. My AC of 27 is going to increase minorly, maybe up to, maybe every couple of levels I'll get 1 extra AC. So up to about maybe 9th level, when I become large size and I lose AC, my AC is still going to be relevant, assuming I get the mage armor and assuming I get the bark skin. However, take a look at someone like Shari. Shari has an AC of 15. Could go up to a 17 with a breastplate. Let's assume we buy breastplate. Okay. Let's actually assume we buy breastplate. That's a fair point. Hide armor, we're going to go with breastplate. Max dex of that. And it's gonna be agile breastplate, which is a little bit more expensive. It's not magically agile. This just means greater mobility. It's going to offset the penalties we're taking, so we don't take as many penalties to our skills. ACP of 1, perfect there. So, for example, we recalc this now. We have a 19 armor class. That is going to increase by 1 after every couple of levels because bark skin goes up. However, we are at 4th level, so attack bonus of 7. So a little less than 50-50, that's not bad. Take away bark skin, which is not going to be up all the time. You're looking at about a 50-50 chance to get hit. As we increase, let's jump 2 levels to 6 now. Plus 11. That means to have a 50% chance of getting hit, you need an AC bonus of 22. Will mean that you have a 50-50 chance of getting hit. Am I going to be able to increase my AC by 3 points in 3 levels? Maybe. I can invest in it. It's cheap. But now we start getting to the later levels, and it doesn't matter. However, difference between a 1 AC and a 15, 16, 17 AC once you start getting up to these mid-levels is nothing. There's no difference. So why invest in AC at all beyond these low to mid-low levels when it's exponentially more expensive, when instead you could just get more offense? So that is what I mean by AC is a trap. Beyond the initial low-level investment, you are better off increasing your offenses and making it more difficult for enemies to hit you, such as through magic like mirror images or displacement effects, or just getting out of their range, or similar effects such as those, rather than just increasing the numeric bonus of your AC. There are many ways to go about it. Spending money on the problem is not it. But at this level, 27 AC, as I got back to Big Green, is a ridiculous number. It's going to be almost impossible for most things to hit him. However, as per usual, he's very susceptible to any non-reflex save magic, so we do have to keep an eye on that and look into investing in a cloak in the very near future. Okay, tangent over. That event, back to what we were doing. Trivial encounter, though a cool enemy nonetheless. It's like a not totally swarm. We'll kick down this door just because it's here. Either way you do it, it doesn't really matter. Bulk storage. Taking a look around before we kick down the door. Most of the treasure here is mundane and not worth much money. 12 bottles of ancient honeyed wine. Other items of wealth. PC who succeeds on all religion check. We can't fail. We'll identify a sphinx-like statue of the Auric Flame Mother, a representation of the elemental Lord Ymiri, lost to the ages, worth some money. And now there's an ability check, which we can't fail. We'll identify the Three Rivers Codex, a genealogy of Wati's founding families, worth a lot of money. And a knowledge engineering check that I think we actually might be able to fail. Where is good old Cyprus? We will not be able to do that check. I mean, we're going to loot everything, but we'll sell it off eventually. Two items of interest, however, to us are located near the eastern door, which is, I mean, the door we just came in through, are Pharasman cleric's vestments and a silver holy symbol of Pharasma, both in seemingly good condition. Of course, we have Quasin with us, the noisy psychopomp, and they go, yeah, that's, Fetim's, I'm just going to call him Fetim, or Temid. That's Temid stuff. Next, taking that down the door to here. Beakers, cauldrons, and other alchemical items crowd the several tables in this cramped room. A decomposing body is sprawled across the floor, its face concealed beneath a brass funerary mask. Taking a look around. Are we trained in... Do we have anybody trained in heal? I have a feeling Agamu is trained in heal. Is not. Click the button anyway. Opening the door. We first smell a pungent gas sipping out. And we can easily identify this as a poison as soon as that. So, we close the door. We are not all that interested. Actually, do psychopomps need to breathe? Outsider. Suppose Aowen has this information we're looking for. It probably does. Outsiders breathe and don't need to eat or sleep. Native outsiders breathe, eat, and sleep. Okay, so we all need to breathe. Unfortunate. Okay, well, I trust the noisy psychopomp. Go in and take a look around, hold your breath, and if you find anything important, bring it out to us. Okay? Okay, brilliant. Holding your breath, luckily, is good enough to deal with this situation. Never mind, it's not good enough to deal with this situation. So eventually the creature will run out and go, oh, nope, not going to do that. There is some information we could glean from in there, but honestly, it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to read it, and we won't have any information. Okay, going into this area here. Taking a look around, the gentle lapping of water echoes through this chamber. Stone stairs descend from a raised platform in the subterranean canal that leads west. Floating doors exit the chamber to the east and south. Two silver chain smugglers are posted here. And they have a trained hyena, which doesn't make the encounter that much more difficult. We smack them unconscious and take their stuff. Okay, continuing onward, we continue into this big room because it looks like this is a dead end that goes out into the waterway beyond. So we go to area, and I guess just kind of opening here, and we'll see if either of these two areas, nope. Looking to the north seems to be some sort of dormitory area. Maybe a kitchen off to the left, a well for fresh water, area for sleeping. A system of trapdoors and pulleys appear to be molded into the floor. Don't seem to be operational at the moment. Each of these beds are bunk beds, so it has rooms for 8 people. However, at the moment, none of them seem to be occupied. Taking a look around, though, we are able to find ourselves an amulet of natural armor +1, which we will immediately put on. Not Shari, because Shari doesn't need it. We'll put it on Atis, because her deity. You are able to wear magic items that increase your armor as a Blossoming Light Cleric, just not wearing armor itself. However, he's doomed, so we're just going to put it on our Atis. I'm not going to calculate it into our wealth because we're going to be selling it because it is not or it is not worth it. It's worth more than 1,000 gold pieces than it is a +1 AC on a sorcerer. Nonetheless, as we look around, 4 stone wells fill much of this otherwise unremarkable room. Disassembled mechanical remains lie scattered around as plumbing connections in the southeast corner. So, there's a bunch of sump pumps designed apparently to keep the basement from flooding. Chained up, however, is Timid. Lies at the bottom of one of the wells, actually. Beaten, bound, and deprived of his holy symbol. Can't use any sort of magic to heal his wounds or summon assistance. Fatigued, of course, from the beating he received, and cannot regain spells until he's rested. Presumably he was in the process of trying to do. But we will rescue him and see if he has any information. With that rest, of course, he's able to tell us anything of value. Some information, however. He warns us that the silver chains now serve a new master, a man in a golden mask, who dwells in the next room. He's exhausted almost all his spells when he was captured, but he can channel his energy if he's given back his holy symbol, which we will, of course, do so. And if he recovers other stuff, we can visit him if we ever need his knowledge or healing. Rescuing him, of course, will reduce the panic level by 1. Not that big a deal. And we'll go ahead and tell him to just kind of hide back and rescue him, or we'll get the information if needed. I will, however, check the item they were given by the Quasin. It is a Ushabadi of the Willing Servant. Go ahead and go to page that one. Seems to depict a mummiformed servant holding a carved tools. It's a small stone figurine. Upon command, it can conjure a ghostly servant, as per Unseen Servant, for 1 hour. Can't move more than 30 feet away. If the owner inscribes their own name on the figurine, requiring a sculpture or stone carving check, gains additional power. Still summon an Unseen Servant. Command the Unseen Servant to fight and defend its owner, functioning as a spiritual ally. However, you can only do that once before it loses all its magic. Yeah, we're going to sell that. It's worth a bunch of money. There is one thing that is the one thing that's kind of disappointing about a lot of the loot you'll find in these games, especially in this one and in other ones where you're exploring ancient sites. There's a lot of cool historical artifacts that are just worth way too much money not to sell. Yes, I'd like to have this little thing that gives me an Unseen Servant that I can order around. That's cool. But not being able to get ourselves nearly 2,000 gold pieces to make ourselves stronger for later encounters is a rough call. And so the way to do that is some players want it and some players don't. You say, okay, then either buy it from the party out of your share of the wealth, or put in your inventory if you're sharing wealth like that, and it'll count against your wealth. And they'll go, oh, wait, I don't want to do that. In which case you go, well, I guess we're selling it. It's just kind of sad in that way. Especially being giving it as a gift. But the game assumes that most of the stuff you're going to get, if you're not going to be using, you're going to be selling. You can keep a little bit of the knickknacks here and there, but valuable magic items like this, the game assumes you're going to sell to get powerful. It only includes enough wealth that you aren't going to miss it. Or it only includes enough wealth that if you miss enough of it, but just by having it on you, then you struggle. So eventually we crack our way into the master's quarters, whoever this master happens to be. Finely crafted antique furniture of many different periods crowd this chamber. The smell of rich food hangs in the air. Books and charts crowd one cedar table, while half-finished banquet and fruit of roasted meat sits on another. Living area with a bed and other furniture fills the southern portion of the room. Originally dormitory housing various slaves, converted to the master. A secret door we don't know about. We'll eventually look into that. And we will find ourselves a lieutenant of the cult. It is a man wearing a gold funerary mask. We'll go ahead and take a of him. Of course, we will not know his name, but he is similarly wielding, it looks like a khopesh and a kukri. Seems to be a relatively common thing in this region of the world. Let me read through exactly what she does and how she got here. So, as the party, I guess Temed could join the adventurers should he want to. He's capable of channeling energy. He does have a fair few of those remaining. And if he pops a couple, he might be able to assist us in combat. In reality, he probably is standing at the back. So as we enter the room, the man looks over to us and goes, "Ah, wondering what those noises I heard were." Actually, he probably didn't hear any noise. I was wondering what the conversation outside was. So, looks like you rescued your friend. I assume that's the end of this unfortunate affair. You have what you came for. It was looking into our business, and as you know, we do not appreciate those who do such a thing. And then we turn around and go, yes, well, we've taken care of most of your gang, and you seem to be the leader. While you seem amenable to conversation, uh, there seems to be no need for the pleasantries. We're going to turn you into the authorities and let them sort out the rest. Very well, combat it is then. Okay, so taking a look at this guy, it's a difficult encounter because he comes with a bunch of cultists. Gotten Pharaoh cultists. Apparently, there's also a new arcane discovery available to wizards in this adventure. Bonded Mask. Use a mask as your bonded item. It must be worn. Have an effect and occupies your head slot. In addition, the mask, from notice, you take a -1 penalty on gathering it. Efforts to gather information about you take a -1 penalty, but you gain a +1 competence bonus on all saving throws against scrying and mind affecting effects. Oh no, it's an arcane discovery, not a okay, an arcane bond. Different things. Taking a look around, we use that. They flank because they're wizard rogues. Honestly, it's still not worth doing. Got a special weapon. I see page 63. Do it functions as a +1 kopech forged specifically combat undead, mummies, and incorporeal. It overcomes the DR of mummy and mummified creatures and other mummy-like creatures at GM's discretion. Once per day on a successful strike against incorporeal undead, it deals an extra 1d. It does 1d6 points of charisma damage. Oh my! What kind of weapon is a Kopesh, I wonder? A martial weapon or an exotic weapon? It's exotic. Never mind, we're selling it. Still, cool nonetheless. I mean, you're going to be encountering mummies on the regular, probably going forward. But again, I'm not expecting much out of this. I'm not going to be channeling against them, but they have basically no ability to harm the dinosaur. Even just sending in the dinosaur alone, he could solo this encounter. But we will take them prisoner, or at least try and take them captive. See if we can interrogate them and see what lies under the mask. Anything of value beyond that special weapon. Some spell books, which don't contain much of value. Gems, potion of undetectable alignment, scroll of whispering wind, poison. Uh, Keys to the various areas. Money, no. Okay. Not a whole lot of value in that. However, there is a large bunch of iron chest. Chest is locked, but the key can be found on his bed. An easy perception check. We'll also notice the secret door going out the back. There is no way we're letting this guy flee alive, because his AC is only 15, and he only has 30 hit points, so smack, and he goes down. Inside the chest, a handy haversack contains an assortment of gemstones. A handy haversack is an extra-dimensional space, but it is... What's handy about it is a bunch of small compartments. Most importantly, you can draw items as a move action. So, you give it to the wizard, or in this case, I guess the alchemist, and he can pull things out of it as a move action. We get a bunch of money. It holds the second chest, holds the remainder of Heminid's equipment. There's also a quill pin, a vial of ink, several slips of parchment, along with a curious figure of a bird made of tin, 3 actual feathers forming its tail. These functions as bird feather tokens. Be removed from the figurine. A cursory inspection also reveals that the figurine has space for 4 feathers. One seems to be missing. Bird feather tokens being basically a consumable magic item that when you craft it designates a person or a place to return the bird to. You whisper into the bird, you toss it into the air, and or you whisper into the token, you toss it into the air, and it will deliver the message to wherever it was. So presumably someone has been alerted about something. We are eventually going to reduce the Huzawada by 1 further. The panic level by 1 further. Now, go into a further area. Instead, we've got other stuff to explore. Before we go into the main section of the mausoleum or explore where this goes, best guess, there is a number of times when you will encounter this tunnel leads beyond, this tunnel can be expanded, but it's beyond the scope of this adventure. This goes down to the Darklands, it's beyond the scope of this adventure. This goes here, don't worry about it. So on and so forth. This happens to not be one of them. This leads somewhere quite relevant. But don't go in it now. It seems to lead further into the Necropolis region, just based on traveling through it a little bit, assuming we take the most well-traveled path, which is likely where the heart of the undead problem is coming from. So as players, we're probably going to go, you know what, let's deal with the outskirts before we go deal with that. Or if your players don't recognize that, maybe you as the GM kind of hint, it might be a better idea to secure the exterior of the necropolis rather than go delving inside first. The reason you do that, of course, is because it allows you to level up. That's the whole reason you do it. As you're expected to have reach to the next level, get access to 3rd level spells and whatnot before you go into the central region, so you don't want your players doing things too early, too quick. Of course, if they keep pushing, if you offer them advice, you tell them, you try and dissuade them, probably with Temed or Temenid. And if they go, no, I think we can do it, you go, are you sure? It's going to be very dangerous, and we don't know if backup will be able to assist you if things go bad. They go, nope, we're totally capable of it. After the 2 warnings, you go, okay. The first one is kind of a pushing. The second one is, are you really sure you want to do this? If your players don't pick up what you're putting down at that point, you go, okay. You can do you, stupid. Okay, so on our way back, we're probably going to head to the Temple of Pharasma with Temenid. After we reduce the panic level to 15 or lower, we can take place anywhere in the city. Against the aura, blah, blah, blah. As we're walking down, we see some trio of zombies threatening a lone woman who seems to be trapped within an alleyway. Well, let's say alleyway. We'll probably still use this map if it comes relevant. Before, of course, we can intervene, a soul-shaking shriek fills the air. A pair of hideous creatures, horrible masked amalgams of the bear and crocodile, burst forth from the alley. They tear into the zombies, felling them, but injuring the woman in the process. And they immediately begin feeding on the decaying flesh of the undead. Well, we gotta go save the woman, so let's go fight the creatures. Okay, we need to go to our SO box. Go AO, there it is. AON. What do they have? Or 3 times invisibility, otherwise they just have grab. They have pounce, which is nasty. Pounce means if you make a charge, you make all your attacks. They enjoy eating undead flesh, are immune to nauseated and sickened. Neat. If it begins to turn grappling a living or undead creature, it may attempt to wrest its control, dealing force damage on a failed save. Succeeds, it takes damage. On a fail, it dazes the creature or dies. With a new save once per round. However, when it holds its disembodied spirit, it can't use its bite attack. Got it. Okay, so, I mean, a neat little creature, but in reality, again, another trivial encounter. What's odd about these guys is they are psychopomps. Let's go ahead and make some relevant knowledge checks here. We can go ahead and go to Cyprus. We go Knowledge Planes and Knowledge Arcana, which will come up eventually. Knowledge Planes checks, we are able to identify these. Apparently these are common. These are only at DC 13 to identify, so we get a couple of questions. We identify them as neutral, medium, psychopomps. We go, huh? And then we'd ask about their special defenses and probably special attacks. Special attacks, they have Pounce, Wrench Spirit, and Spell Likes. And we'd learn all these things as well. Again, you only learn the name of the things and kind of what it's at. So they have a tiny bit of DR bypass by adamantine, death, disease, and poison. They resist some cold and electricity. And they have Eater of the Dead. As special attacks, they have Spell Likes. They also have Pounce and Wrench Spirit. All cool things. If I had other questions, learning about what Wrench Spirit does would be useful. However, as we destroy them and stabilize the woman who's dying, instead of dying and falling over on the ground, they're gonna poof and kind of disappear in a sparkle of dust, kind of in-game style, if you were. It depends on exactly what, but a relatively trivial, which we blew out of the park, Knowledge Arcana check. Realize that this means the creatures were likely summoned instead of being they were summoned as per a summon spell, like summon nature's ally, summon monster, or the more esoteric summon psychopomp spell. Which means, first off, a relatively strong person had to cast this. Based on our knowledge of Arcana, summon Psychopomp. We might be able to glean that. Summon Psychopomp. So we got Summon Lesser Psychopomp. It lasts 1 round per level. So someone of sufficiently high level had to cast. This is a 5th level spell. So we're talking a 9th level character. 9th level cleric, probably. Maybe slightly lower level for Pharasma. I don't know if they get them early. We as characters probably don't know. I as a player don't know. I've never used Summon Psychopomp before. Fun and thematic, but odd. We'll ask the Pharasmans about it. Speaking of Pharasmans, let's go to the Pharasmans. As we scroll down. The one thing I will say, it is cool to have open-ended books like this, but the fact that we have to... As a GM, it can be very annoying as we scroll up and we scroll down and we scroll up and we scroll down and we scroll up and we scroll down over and over and over again. Get quite grating after a time. So, scrolling all the way down, past the area we just fought at, down to Event 4, or towards the end of Part 1, after the PCs have done something specific, which is rescue the man. But because we are going to inform the head priest, Pharasma, the voice of the spire, Naket Shepses, who's actually an inquisitor as opposed to a cleric. The name, of course, is relevant, making a knowledge... Oh, he is the leader of the militant wing. And of course, Septi the Crocodile is the head of the actual clergy. The one thing to note about Inquisitors, if you encounter Inquisitors, not that you'll know they're an Inquisitor, they all have at-will detect alignment any. They can change as they will. So they're easily able, if they're given downtime in conversation without any visual components, they can just flash their eyes a bunch of different colors. Not, again, doesn't actually change the color of their eyes, but you can pretty quickly determine the alignment of everybody in a room. But the name Shepses is relatively important. We might be able to make a knowledge nobility check on that. Shepses being the name of the founder of Wati. I do want to check about the SO box. Okay, they are dumb. I was just making sure about that. So, as we return with Temenid, we will ask to see whoever's in charge around there. It probably takes a little bit of time. We introduce ourselves, we talk about our backstory. We, of course, have our adventuring party name. Maybe not happy about us being not grave robbers, but we've been relatively respectful, treating the places as they deserve, and have given the Pharasmans all the information they've requested, including turning in. So we've formed at least a decent relationship, and as we've been saving people throughout the city and dealing with undead, our reputation may have spread a little bit further. So it probably takes a little bit of time, but then we're able to see Septi, and we'll speak up along the lines of, we're traveling through the city. We've rescued our friend Temenid here. He can attest and verify all of the things we were about to speak of. Dealt with the undead here, here, and here. Dealt with the Silver Chain hideout. Possibly their main hideout, we're not exactly sure. Given the loot in the region, I wouldn't be surprised. Supposedly, according to Temenid, he may know more, They're serving a new master, these people in golden masks. We've heard rumors about them operating in the necropolis at odd hours. Don't know much more about them than that. Maybe related in some way to this outbreak? We're not exactly sure of the full specifics. However, what we do find odd is just as there were undead roaming the streets, there were also some psychopomps roaming the streets, specifically summoned psychopomps. Presumably from somewhere relatively nearby, given how long they lasted. So we're wondering if Euphrasmins had anything to do with that, because these psychopomps were not the most kind. Well, yes, they did deal with some of the basic undead. They also caught some living creatures as collateral. So if you are doing that, I recommend keeping a little firmer control over the psychopomps and not letting them run willy-nilly. Septi at this point will speak up. Thank you very much for your report. As for the psychopomp issue, I'll have to look into it. If you want to stay around a little bit, I might have need of your services. I think I might know the cause, and an outsider perspective and mediator might help solve the issue a little bit more thoroughly. I'll have one of my acolytes come to get you once I have retrieved my suspected individual. Hopefully we can resolve this matter diplomatically. At least that's my plan. Hold up, what the heck? Okay, it's gonna be a rough fight. Sorry, I was reading further information. I was very confused as to the difficulty of an encounter upcoming. But I need to finish verifying. Okay, so as we will head over to eventually, maybe 20 minutes later, or 15 minutes later, we'll be brought into a room by an acolyte. You see two people having what's just short of a shouting match, raised voices, but not overtly screaming at each other. We recognize Septi. The other one, as we said earlier, is going to be Naket Shepses. We're going to call him Naket, just so Septi and Naket are a little bit different. They'll take a moment. As we come in, though, Septi will say, "Ah, yes, the guests. Naket, I was hoping that we could have a third party intervene. Our arguments seem to be getting us nowhere. These are the adventurers that have helped out the city and brought our Temenid back to us, trying to help uncover this whatever plot is ailing Wati at this current time. So, my proposal: both of us will lay out our arguments and speak as to what we want to do. And these adventurers will give us their honest opinion, and we will take that under strong consideration. Does that sound agreeable to you?" Nakat will pause for a moment and go, "At the very least, there's no harm in letting outsiders listen to our arguments. And strong consideration is fair enough. I do not expect to bow down to their authority, given that we are one of the highest authorities within this city, but having extra alternate views may very well help finish this argument. So, with that, one thing I do need to check before we go any further is go up to page 5, actually. Page 6, 7... Okay. No, we did not. I was wondering if we were supposed to level before this upcoming stuff. The answer is no. So, my goodness, what's his name? Nakat will speak up. My solution is simple. You've encountered the psychopomps in the city. Yes, I've heard you've encountered the psychopomps in the city. We also heard that they were rather effective, as I predicted they would be. The collateral damage is ultimately unfortunate. However, letting undead continue to roam the streets is a much more dangerous affair. Undead have a propensity of turning others into undead, and from what I've seen, leaving a corpse around too long with necromantic energies about in the air seems to be making things worse. More undead seem to rise as time goes on. So unleashing the psychopomps of various descriptions will make things quite easily. Of course, psychopomps are trained in some regard. The better ones are easily able to avoid the living and only target the dead. There might be a little bit of collateral damage if the fight happens to break out, but it's something the city of Wadi is capable of and has handled in the past. Blocking off parts of the city during the Plague of Madness being a prime example. It seems to me that the easiest way to do it is let the undead, is let Pharasma's servants, those dedicated to killing undead, do what they were designed and born to do. Septi will speak up at this point. My argument is, of course, similarly focused on trying to save the city, but instead of trying to kill undead willy-nilly and hope for the best, instead a more decisive approach is necessary. This sort of problem does not happen naturally. There's obviously some sort of cause. What I recommend is identifying the source of this issue, while at the same time focusing on protecting the citizenry. If less people die, as our friend here stated, then less people are likely to rise as undead, and the more defenders we can put in central locations surrounded by clerics of our own ilk, the better defended we are against any attacks that come our way. And if we can identify it, sending out relevant strike teams of those capable and willing to deal with this issue, such as high-level clerics of both ourselves and the cleric of Nethys, once we're able to get the situation under hand, then we can identify the problem, as opposed to just unleashing agents and hoping for the best. Yes, I do trust psychopomps, but in a situation as chaotic as this, adding a further element into play is likely to just make the problem worse. The party, of course, will take a moment to consider how do I think they would do. Agamu, of course, is not a fan of collateral damage. Atis is actually of the opposite opinion. She thinks psychopomps might easily be the answer. Of course, she's less inclined to the Estoses that we've seen before. She's not as huge a fan of those guys, but the rest of them are because they're unintelligent and did the collateral damage, but getting the more intelligent one seems to be a fairly decent idea. How do Cypress and Shari feel about this affair? What are their alignments, first of all? Neutral good for Shari, and I think Cypress was lawful neutral. I think Cypress would probably agree with Agamu. It is much better to get a chaotic situation underhand than unleashing another chaotic element into the city. Yes, they're likely to be able to identify the cause given enough time, But given enough time is a problem that is going to happen regardless of the situation. So, given enough time, people can solve the problem in the same way that psychopomps can. Psychopomps, unfortunately, as Cypress can attest, also look a lot like undead in some cases. So, it adds those not in the know or those not trained in identifying psychopomps may also mistake them as hostile creatures and attack them, just the same as they would of the undead, causing even further chaos to be unleashed into the city. Jari, at that point, will go, I didn't know that. That's an interesting thing to consider. If the uninformed are also going to be attacking them, the psychopomps are going to defend themselves or possibly think they're necromancers, thus just further increasing casualties. So I'll say it's 3 in favor of one in favor of the other. So all told, we believe it is a better idea to use the resources, use human resources, use living resources. If psychopomps are needed, it is best to summon only powerful ones that are fully intelligent and presumably, hopefully, don't look like undead to defend locations such as this locale and others, keep them hidden away or secreted away invisibly or hidden on the rooftops by chance if they can fly. We don't want the common citizenry to see undead-looking things. They might not go to that location or think they're in league with necromancers. Something along those lines. Use them defensively, not offensively. Don't just unleash them upon the city. That would make problems much worse. So as the argument seems to be leaning in favor of Septi, Nakat will go ahead and whisper to a runner who will go off and do things. But the PCs will also, of course, our player characters, our party, will also volunteer to help out in solving the issues. Likely the issue is in the necropolis, whatever it is. And after we solve the situation and help calm the outer city, we'll have no problems in adventuring forward and helping deal with the problem as best we can. At the very least, identifying the source of the outbreak. If we can't deal with it ourselves, we will be able to help get everybody around. We've had very little issue with the undead, and Agamu, being a holy cleric of pure goodness and light, is specialized in dealing with them. Septi, of course, is very, very happy to deal with the ideas. Nakat, however, finds it a bit laughable having outsiders just expecting outsiders to deal with this problem better than the Church of Pharasma can. However, he has a little trial that we can undergo to help maybe solve this issue. As for what we're going to be doing, the runner eventually moments later, a skeletal figure wearing a vulture-like mask and a ragged cloak of gray feathers teleports into the temple. I'll go ahead and pull up a picture of him. It looks like that. As I said, these things can look like undead, assuming this is, of course, a psychopomp. Nakat will speak up. Hey, this is Jin Ra Baka. I assume that's how you say that name. Who came to Wati with my ancestor, the original founder of the city centuries ago. Resided in the city ever since. Long ago, or a long-time ally of the Voice of the Spire. This fifth psychopomp, or he's the one I intend to unleash upon Wadi. Of course, he has his attendants, as they stroll into the room, some more Esobok psychopomps. I believe if you can best the Voice and his war dogs, that I'm willing to accept you as agents of Pharasma in place of the psychopomps. However, of course, I do not want anybody to die in this battle, so it should only be fought until the majority of the combatants on one side fall unconscious. In this case, we will say 3 on your side, or 1 on the other. Does that sound agreeable to you all? Of course, our party will very much agree. Hello, welcome to chat. Uh, Learning how to GM Pathfinder, the Kingmaker Adventure. Is this first edition or is this second edition Kingmaker? I believe they've ported it over. I've run the Pathfinder first edition Kingmaker game many years ago. It was a fantastic adventure. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Pathfinder second edition. Okay, don't have as much experience about that, but I can help as best I can. I've only played it a handful of times, but I have a general idea of how the story goes and what to expect. The thing to keep in mind with the Kingmaker adventure is it is very open-ended and sandboxy, so you have to have prepared a wide breadth of content from the scenario, just in case your party goes a different direction than you're anticipating. But given the nature of the open-ended style of it, it allows the players to do kind of what they want and approach things in a way that they enjoy. So it is, at least in Pathfinder First Edition, the Kingmaker Adventure Path is known as one of the best adventure paths out there. Okay. So while we're doing that, let me go ahead and set up a blank page and get ourselves going. This is another one of the encounters that is left without a specific encounter table. So let's go ahead and pull on all of the party members. Got Shar, we need to pull her on as well. And let's go ahead and get an arena set up. Nothing too fancy, just a big circle. Yeah. Session 0 is always a fantastic idea. It allows you to get an idea of what your players are going to do. Of course, make sure they understand I don't know how the kingdom building portion was transitioned over into second edition. I know in first edition there was different roles that the party and the various NPCs you recruit along the way have to fill. So having different stats, having some people who want to be the quote-unquote king and some people who want to be various advisors, military, financial, magical, and all that is important to think about ahead of time. The characters may not know they're going to be the king and whatnot. Having the players know out of game they need to separate some various statistics is important. So give them an idea of that role, so that later down the line you don't have 3 people arguing they all want to be king. But beyond that, yeah, it's very similar to this book that I'm currently running. You're going to be given a list of maybe like 8 to 10 different encounters for a certain section of the book that are going to take place in various places throughout the region, and you just got to kind of prepare all of them, get your map set up ahead of time, have an idea of how you expect the encounter to go based on your party members. But Kingmaker is also open-ended in the way the party plays. They can be lawful. They're expected to be as most Pathfinder games go, they're expected to be kind of good, the good guys helping out the common citizenry, but they can play any alignment. Make sure your party gets along. Make sure your party kind of likes approaching problems in a somewhat similar way. So you don't have a bunch of people that like murdering and then one guy who likes trying to diplomatize. Because then sometimes one person gets left behind or some people feel left out. Make sure the party's kind of on the same page and how they would like to overarching approach issues. Just to make sure, again, everybody's having fun. But second edition is quite more reasonably balanced than first edition, so it should be, as far as I'm aware, so it should be a much easier time keeping everybody together. Okay, but let's get let's get our party set up, as we are up against a rather unfortunate individual. Go ahead and put Shari up front. Once again, writing her We want her riding her dinosaur this time. Or do we want to separate? I think I might actually separate her from her dinosaur. Just so that we can get the enemies kind of separated. Okay, and let's go ahead. We'll use spiders to represent the SO box. And then, of course, we have a Vanth Psychopomp, which is surprisingly annoying. Just as a GM, this is an encounter that I'm assuming the writers do not expect you to win. This is a CR8 encounter, and the party is expected to be level 4 right now. So while it is technically winnable, DR10 Adamantine is just... what the heck? 2 attacks for a good amount of damage. Has access to Bestow Curse, which is going to be incredibly irritating. Has a Fear Aura, which is, again, going to be very, very annoying. Okay. Well, let's do our best. SO Box, we know, have 15 AC and 30 hit points. Toss this down to the... actually, we'll leave that as is. We go 30 here, 15 here. Are you going to be playing your Kingmaker game online, or are you going to be playing it in person? And we'll use this to represent the Vanth. These have an AC of 20 and 76 hit points. So again, as I said, this is a CR8 encounter with a CR7 creature that the average party has very little way of hurting. Yep, online. Yeah, I nowadays play almost all of my games exclusively online. Roll20 being a great place. Just, it takes a little to learn the system, but there's great resources online. Usually there's a good character sheet set up for it with good assets. The important thing is just make sure you got your maps done ahead of time. There's going to be a lot of encounters in Kingmaker that don't have a map associated with them. So look ahead of time. Founder and host the game, that works as well. Just do your best to source some good maps ahead of time, or since I'm not overly familiar with Foundry, do what you can. Again, it's a game of using your mind. I'm actually going to put you hiding behind, like so. Okay, let's go ahead and begin the battle. Now, admittedly, this probably was expected to take place a little bit later, so maybe the party had got a little bit more gear before now. But as I said, to save time, we've done things a little bit more simply. Need... well, apparently shift-click. Grab all of these creatures, add turn. We don't need big green to get a turn, though. Roll for the party first. Okay, we've got Atis, who is going to be at a 16. Cypress is going to be at a 20. Gamu at a 13. And Shari, unfortunately, at a 5. Roll a few more times. 19, unfortunately, for the Vanth. Is +3, so 22 for you. And the SO box are also +3, so we're going to be rolling at an 8 and an 11. Okay, so first up will be the Vanth. There are, I mean, combat encounters is kind of the name of the game. The only other big thing I recommend is, if you feel comfortable doing it, try and do XP by milestone. There's usually at the beginning of the section, during, like, the chapter summary, there's a level these players up after this encounter, after these certain events have been met, after this section of the game. That makes things a whole lot easier. If you feel comfortable doing or if you feel the players are going to do things way out of order and get involved in things they shouldn't, then maybe do XP, or you're going to calculate everything by XP. At the beginning, when I ran Kingmaker for first edition, I tried to hand out XP as per, you did this encounter, you did this roleplay encounter, I handed out XP as that, because I knew it was a bit more sandboxy. But about halfway through the game, I realized that it was just not worth the time and started milestone XPing people. Okay, so the Vanth. I do have tactics. There is spell I'm going to cast. What do I know about these party members? I don't know a whole lot. I've not been informed of them. So I'm not going to do anything too special. And instead, we're just going to go ahead and do a power attacking vital strike just at whoever I see. Shari, big green. Honestly, I don't care. Probably going to attack the dog. Let's do 1 to 10, attack Shari, 10 or high attacks big green. So Shari it is. We're going to charge. Power attack. Vital strike. Make things nice and easy. I'm plus 14. What's my bab? My bab is 9, so I'll take a minus 3 to hit. So I'm plus 11, plus less. I easily hit. I'm power attacking, so I double my dice. I double that. I'm two-handing power attacking. So 1.5 times. So instead of getting 6, I get 9. So we're doing 44. Yeah. That would normally be how this this encounter could work out. This specifically, however, is a test of strength against a not completely hostile foe. We're currently at a temple, being there were two sides arguing about a problem. One guy wants to unleash these psychopomps upon the region, and the other wants to use people. He said if we can beat a psychopomps, he'll allow us to go and deal with the problems ourselves in our way. However, this Vanth is stronger than us, and it believes it's better than us, so it is going to just kind of not fight to the best of its ability, necessarily. It's just going to come up, wallop us a few times, knock people unconscious, and not take too many prisoners, or not do anything too hard. However, it doesn't know how squishy we are yet, so it's just going to give us a big old wallop. I think we might drop in a single attack. Let's see, 44 plus 16. Minus 27 from a single hit. Oh! Okay, that was incredibly annoying. Okay, what do we got on good old Cyprus here? Cyprus, you have bombs, and should not be afraid to use them. If you go off to the side, we know these Esobox Pounce. We've encountered them before. So, first off, let's identify the Vanth. We've had time before this combat began. Let's see if we can learn anything about Vanth Psychopomps. They're relatively common creatures as far as Psychopomps go. So we got a 21 to identify them. Monster Lore in first edition works as, this is a 7 CR creature plus 10 for being relatively common, so it's DC 21. Or DC 17, so 21 would give us one question about these Vanth Psychopomps. They're generally neutral, medium outsiders, extraplanar Psychopomp. I'd probably ask special defenses, because that's usually my first question when encountering any monster, unless I have a little bit of metagame knowledge. So they have some as the players, I would learn, they have they have a good amount of DR bypassed by adamantine. They're immune to death effects, disease, poison. They resist a little bit of cold and electricity, and they also have a fairly reasonable SR. You don't tell them the exact numbers, you just kind of give them some idea of it. Because in the world and the setting, actions work differently or the game works differently in Pathfinder First Edition as compared to Second Edition. Pathfinder Second Edition, they streamlined it to give you 3 actions per turn. You can divide up how you see as you see fit. In First Edition Pathfinder, there is a move action, a standard action, and a swift action, and free actions. You get 1 standard action, move action, swift action per turn. Free actions, you take as many as you want within reason. So a charge action is a special action that you move up to twice your movement speed, make a single attack. There's other conditions. That's to be a straight line, not through anything, so on and so forth. But I assume charge works very similarly. He has power attack, which is a feat, and final strike, which is a feat which he combined. SR is called spell resistance. Spell resistance is basically a armor class for magic. Anytime someone casts a spell that checks spell resistance, you roll a d20 plus your caster level plus relevant feats, and you must equal or exceed the SR, otherwise your spell just doesn't work against that specific creature. So if I cast a magic missile against this creature, I'd have to roll a 18 or higher on my SR check to even have the missiles affect them. If I roll, for example, a fireball against 3 Vanths, or 3 creatures with different SRs, I would roll 1 check for the full spell, and that would be my check against everyone. Again, haven't played much 2nd edition, don't know if SR is still a thing. I assume it is. We know SO-Box Pounce. Unfortunately, I need to deal with this. Actually, do I need to deal with this guy up front? That's the question. We know SO-Box don't have any SR. They have a little bit of DR. And we only have to deal with 2. We have to deal with a majority. That's what we were told. A majority. We have to deal with 2 of them. So instead of dealing with big old Wallopy Boy here, maybe we leave... Oh, yeah. Nope. Thank you for stopping by. No problem. Feel free to stop by during the stream. I'll answer questions as best I can. Again, not overly familiar with 2nd edition, but I know more than most people in the world when it comes to Pathfinder 1st edition, and I've played Kingmaker before, both the 1st edition one and the video game. So the only other thing I'd recommend, if they haven't already, read through the bosses in the last books, or read through the final overarching bosses, because they are really relevant in actions that happened before, and it can be difficult if you haven't read through the entirety of it to incorporate the overarching villain ahead of time without knowing what's coming. So read through their lore, know that they're doing a bunch of things, interact with the PCs throughout the entire book, and kind of seed that knowledge and information in. The villain at the end doesn't go, ha ha ha, it's me, I've been interfering with you the whole time, and the party goes, really? Okay, sure. Other than that, have a good day, and I wish you success with your adventure. Okay, so, we are interfering, we need to just deal with 2 of them. This guy is going to be very difficult to deal with. We know we can't overcome his DR, and he's going to be a big old sack of hit points. He's strong. Let's go deal with these miniature guys. So we'll go there, and I guess just here. That'll put us within 20 feet, 25 feet. So I'll take a -2 to throw my bombs at him. But honestly, I don't think I care. I'm attacking flat-footed touch. Where is good old Cypress? There he is. Let's go ahead and throw it is going to be a normal bomb. I'm still within 30 feet, so I get point-blank shot. 17 to touch, should touch. Yes, easily. And we're going to go ahead and -12. Not great on the damage, but not awful. Okay, Atis. 2nd verse, same as the 1st. I am going to... Actually, Glitter Dust might be a good... We're going to wait until they're a bit more grouped up. I'm going to go ahead... Do I have How much damage is Ear-Piercing Scream going to do? Pathfinder, Ear-Piercing Scream. It does a d6 points per 2 caster levels. So at this point, it's going to do 2d6 points of damage, which is generally going to be less than my magic missile. So I'm just going to... We're going to spread out. Learn that's step number 1. And we're going to go ahead and Ear-Piercing Scream this... Or we're going to Magic Missile this guy down here. I'm going to do 2d4 plus 2 points of damage. For 5 total. Unfortunate, but it happens. Okay, Agamu. Shari is in a very bad way, and we know Agamu is basically incapable of dealing offensive damage. So, we are likely going to spontaneously convert a spell. At this point, probably use Hold Person, so I'm going to assume we got a Lesser Restoration available for us. We're going to convert that into a Cure Moderate Wounds. It's going to be 2d8 plus 4. It's going to be 14 points of healing. Not going to offset the damage we just took, but it's still a fair amount. Okay, first up, you are easily going to charge at Cypress. Okay, what is Cypress's AC? Cypress has an AC of 15. Is that seriously it? Okay, Cypress, do you have on... What do you have on for armor? The answer is you get a mage armor. Actually, you probably are wearing a chain shirt at this point. Yes, it's going to have an armor check penalty. And yes, it has a max dex of 6. But it'll have a higher armor bonus. Okay. So 17 armor class. That's a little bit better. So we got 3 20s. We're rolling... Oh, that's a... At 20? Okay, so... Bite, Claw, Claw, because that's the order they're... I just go in the order they're listed in when I'm doing attacks. So in this case, the Bite will miss, the Claws will both hit, and one of them will crit. Do I have Power Attack? I do have Power Attack. Would I have Power Attacked? Probably. So actually, -2 on all those hits will mean I still crit. Okay. +2 plus Power Attack is going to be 4 extra damage. A total of 26 points of damage. Ow. Okay, Crunch. This guy is going to go ahead and pounce at Shari there, as she is the most convenient target for me. Alternative is I could pounce at Agamu. I just realized Big Green could have attacked this man. Oh well. Lesson learned. We'll remember it next time. So, 1, 2, 3. We are, of course, also going to be power attacking. However, you have an AC of 19. So, miss, hit. We'll do a little bit of damage. Hopefully not enough to... Oh, God. Still a lot. Hopefully not enough. Okay, Shari. We need to deal with these 2 minions. How are we going to deal with them in the best case scenario? So, first off, let's 5-foot step. That's step number 1. Let's give this guy a good old wallop with my Bardiche. Hopefully we hit. 18 for 22. Perfect. It'll only do 20 points of damage, of course, because they have DR. But some damage is better than no damage. Next up, we're going to have Big Green, 5-foot step in front. Kind of trying to get the Vanth to attack them. It's probably not going to, but you never know. And we need Big Green to land a couple, 1 or 2 good wallops, and hopefully that'll bring down the spider. Bite. Slap will do 12 points of damage, which is going to be enough to bring down the spider. Okay, those guys are summoned, so they are just going to poof when they go down to 0. Okay. Next up is going to be the Vanth. Now then, Shari and Big Green were both a problem. The second attack, because I did drop the Vanth, I am going to target this creature instead, especially in Pathfinder 1. Full attacks, or when you get multiple attacks around as a standard action, or as your full attack, usually you'll either tell your GM, hey, I want to attack this person until they go down, and then I'm going to move on to somebody else. Most GMs say that's fine, because otherwise you roll each attack individually. You don't, because a full attack is not made all at once, because you are able to 5-foot step in between each, any single one of your attacks. So if your GM says you have to roll them one at a time, you cringe. You go, okay, fine. Most GMs just let you roll it all at once and say, if that guy goes down, I'll move on. So the 8 will obviously miss. So Shari, Agamu's healer. Big Green did a big wallop. Shari did the biggest wallop and is injured. So, how do I want to play this? I had no problem hitting Shari. That was relatively trivial. However, my creature had some problems hitting. So she doesn't have a... I, as an intelligent Vanth, intelligence of 13, so relatively intelligent, not overwhelmingly so, know that she probably has a reasonable AC, given the fact she's wearing breastplate. Big Green also wearing leather armor, and they both have barky skin. So I'm assuming that they both have, or their armor classes are quite reasonable. The dog probably bigger than anybody else. Yes, again, if it's an animal companion, I'm going to call it a dog, no matter what. Unless it's a horse. I'll call it a horse if it's a horse. Anything else is going to be a dog. I have 2 swings, so I can separate them as necessary. I'm just trying to determine how do I want to do this. I'm probably going to power attack. That seemed important. I would like to non-lethally attack, because that would be nice, but I don't think I want to necessarily do that. So, I fly. I'm going to 5-foot step into the air above Big Green. So I'll represent this by a 0-5 and roll 20. If you mouse over one of these tokens and you press a number, it'll appear with a digit. So 0-5 represent that there is 5 feet beneath its feet. That's 1 square in the air. You can represent this by 1. I don't always like doing that because I use other things to represent, like mirror images. So I use distance. Every 5 feet you're in the air is 1 square that is beneath your feet. I'm above Big Green. I'm going to start by... Power attack is either all on or all off. So I'm going to power attack. And I'm going to power attack... Shari. Start. That will hit. And I'm going to do 2d4 plus 16 points of damage. Okay. Shari, how much con do you have? 14. Luckily, that means you will not die. So, pulling punches. I, as a GM, will occasionally pull my punches. In the same vein, I, as a GM, I actually don't ever pull punches. I don't ever give the... I will pull punches for the PC against the PCs. I will never pull punches for the P. I will pull punches when dealing damage. I don't want to say this. When trying to murder the PCs, I will pull punches if it's dumb. For example, this is a creature that you shouldn't be fighting at this level. If this creature was going to die, yes, I get that they can be breath of lifed by one of the people off stage. I wouldn't kill them just because the permanent or the negative levels would be very annoying. So, I would do just enough. For example, in this case, brought to negative 12. There's a cleric off screen that casts Stabilize. Lo and behold, we're good to go. Next, we will... but pulling punches outside of that, I don't like killing PCs outright. I don't have a problem setting them to like 1 or 2 hit points away from death, if they're at low level, but killing them outright when they have no easy way to deal with it is somewhat annoying. When it comes to the PCs attacking the enemy, I will almost never arbitrarily make things more difficult. Ahead of time, if the party is kind of sweeping through every book and the encounters have been relatively easy, I may give them the advanced template, I might add an extra enemy here or there, and if the enemies just kind of wally stomp the boss and get like 8 crits in a row and trivialize the boss by doing like 300 points of damage before it even gets to act, it may get some extra hit points. Not to a ridiculous degree, I'm not going to like double its HP pool or anything, but if an extra like 2 to 4 con would make it a more interesting fight, I don't mind giving it a little bit of extra hit points or a little bit of extra save here or there. But I will always try and do that ahead of time, never during an encounter. I don't like changing the things mid-fight. But I also want things to be interesting enough that the players are engaged in combat. They're engaged in the story, engaged in the gameplay. So, in this case, 24 points of damage, rolling max, doesn't kill her, stabilized from off screen. I do have a second attack. I'm going to attack Agamu with that second attack. 6 plus 9 minus 3 is only going to be a 10. Was I given Shield of Faith, or was I given Mage Armor today? Probably. I was probably given Mage Armor. At this point, I'm Mage Armor 4 people. Never mind, I was probably not given Mage Armor today. In which case, that will hit. Oops, let's roll damage again. This time, only 21 points of damage. We are very much not out healing this man. So Gamu, I'll leave it on for now, but I'm just going to assume that I didn't cast it on them. I've already cast it on Cypress and Big Green. Or no, I didn't cast it on Cypress, so I cast it on Big Green. So yeah, I actually might have. We'll give him his 21 hit points back. Next up, Cypress. 5-foot step and huck a bomb. "13 touch. Does 13 touch you?" It does. Minus 13 damage. We'll bring it down to 0, and Atis will hit it with a magic missile. And we'll also hit the boss with a magic missile, just in case. Just in case. This guy will guaranteed to go down. With that, I do, however, need to roll a cast. Goodness gracious, got the hiccups. Okay. Let's go ahead and have Atis roll. How do you do caster level checks? Go to this page, go to caster level, and you click the button. 7. I only roll a +4 to roll an 18. I have to roll a 14 or higher, so I have a very low chance of doing that. However, we have successfully completed the combat. All we had to do was defeat a majority of the NPCs. Could we have finished this encounter and won? No. I don't think there's any way for us... Assuming, of course, no one can die. We could play this out, and we could just see if it's possible for me to win. That would be this could be a fun little gameplay encounter. So Agamu is going to... Do we want to heal Shari? No, Shari's weapon is on the ground. It's probably better off just... I'm probably better off channeling to heal. Let's just play this combat out. Again, we've won the encounter, but I want to see if I can win. So everybody heals 7, which most specifically is this guy. Shari we now know is stable. And then I'm going to 5-foot step away. I want to try and separate these guys as much as possible. Shari is stable. Big Green is going to attack twice. Again, this thing has an AC of a big number, so it is unlikely to succeed. Whiff whiff. Plus, it does barely enough damage to overcome its DR. Okay. Agamu doesn't seem to be the problem now. The problem, however, seems to be Big Green. I'm going to attack Big Green twice. I do not yet know Big Green's armor class is a ridiculously high number, so I'm going to first start off with a power attack. And I'm going to miss both. Now recognizing that this guy has a ridiculously high armor class, I probably shouldn't power attack when I'm attacking him, or pick a different target. Okay. Cypress is going to... Again, continue to spread out. Stay within 20 feet. And I'm going to attempt to huck a force bomb at this creature. $24 for 14 points of damage. That will do damage. That means I know who I'm attacking. As the good old Vanth. Atis. We're going to assume, even though I likely spent a number of my spells earlier, that I have most of my spell casting still around, just for the sake of this encounter going forward. I'm going to attempt another caster level check. Or concentration. Or, yeah, it is a caster level check. This time I rolled high enough, so I do bypass its SR. D4 plus 2. Do 6 points of damage. Agamu. Be within 30 feet. I am. So I will go ahead and roll to stabilize. That roll is stabilized. I've already stabilized. I'm going to go ahead and channel to heal. I am going to select out my ally who's fallen unconscious on the ground because I do not want her to come just barely conscious and get mollywopped into death. Everybody is going to heal 10, which is a very good number. Okay, Shari, or more specifically, Big Green. How does Big Green feel? We definitely know he needs to overcome its DR, so we will continue to power attack, and we did 1 point of damage. Okay. I now know Big Green is not a threat as the Vanth. But we're going to do a charging power attack, or charging vital strike, and if Cypress goes down, this fight is over. Cypress has an AC of 22, or AC of 17, so I'm going to be -1, so I'm going to be plus 13 to hit. So I'm going to hit and do an ungodly high amount of damage. 44 plus 16. He goes down. Now, at this point, it is basically unwinnable battle. I'm just going to kind of ping-pong around, attacking everybody but Big Green. And eventually, without power attacking, I will wear Big Green down before he can wear me down. So, was it possible to be the Vanth? With this party setup, no. Could I have, instead of attacking the little guys, could attack the big guy with the bombs? I could have dealt an extra, what, 12, 10... 12 plus 13, so 25 damage, plus an extra magic missile. Let's see if the other one would have bypassed. No. So I could have done an extra, what, 25 points of damage. I still would have had 30 hit points. Would have taken an extra... If I had focused all my efforts on the boss, I might have been able to bring it down. However, with the little guys attacking as well, it would have been a rough fight. Nonetheless, I did what I came out here to... what I set out to do in defeating the encounter. So we've succeeded. Though we didn't defeat him, we defeated his escorts. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. Long ago, blah, blah, blah. Majority of combatants on one side fall unconscious. Perfect. We defeat him. He's left a little speechless. Though unsurprised, of course, that the final victor in the combat was... Or the victor in the combat was the Vanth overall. But, after healing everybody back up from the rather unfortunate beating we just took, plenty of clerics around to do some channeling or spontaneously converting. While I am proud, I am not an unreasonable man. My greatest concern is keeping Wati safe and ending the undead scourge. Since you've proven yourself capable, if not of overwhelming force, of at least capable in terms of tactics and your ability to deal with multiple combatants, which is relevant in this encounter, we will follow your suggestions. Using our good boy here, Ajin, on defense, keeping them well hidden to deal with the fears of the citizenry, and will allow humans to deal with these problems, living creatures to deal with them. I do wish you the best of luck. Septi will speak up. Yes. You'll be one of the parties we will be sending out. Once we get better organized and prepare our defenses, we will do what we can. There are some other places that do require attention, though, before we send you inward. If you could make sure that the headquarters of the town guard is safe. The App District, and of course the gate heading into the Necropolis. Those are 3 areas that we are looking to secure. So if possible, I would very much recommend going to check out those locations. If you have need of any further services or healing in your endeavors, or you find anybody responsible, feel free to come to us. Now, with that being said, we're probably going to have to rest for the night. I don't think we could continue going after that encounter. We probably used up the last of our resources, so it is going to tick up the whatchamacallit by 1. But we're going to refresh, get all our stuff back, and head out to the various locations that were described earlier. Quickly scroll up. Are any of them in a... Okay. So if we make one big circle, we can kind of hit them in order, which is all I care about. So, Area C. Shadows at the gate. 30 doors of iron and bronze stand in the high sandstone wall, barring entry and egress to and from the city's necropolis. Barred windows in the gates offer brief glimpses of what lies beyond. Oh, God, seriously? Sorry. there's an enemy that I very much hate fighting. Luckily, we're high enough level to deal with it, but it is, God, a terrible one. It seems like a single woman is trying to fight off the invaders. Currently, she is fighting what looks like the living embodiment of a shadow. Spoiler alert, it's a shadow. We do have a picture of her that is listed. I can go ahead and show you it. Aha! Look! Paul Thim. Relatively cool-looking figure. Seems to be some sort of cleric. Or at the very least, a worshiper of Pharasma, given the symbology, there we go, symbology on her person. A quick glance through the doors revealed nearly 100 skeletons, zombies, ghouls, and more gathered beyond the gate. For the time being, at least, they are clearly unable to break through them. The priestess in charge is relatively inexperienced. As we approach, apparently she's not engaged in combat. The shadow is not yet available to be seen. The undead gathered beyond the gate seem mindless and undirected. None have yet had broken through. Nearly half the gate guards have deserted their posts, however. It'd be best if you could bring this letter to the Grand Mausoleum. Request aid of holy symbols and holy water to help defend against them. However, as the fighting is undergoing, the shadow will pop through the wall. The reason I hate the shadow, if we go ahead and look at this, Pathfinder Shadow, AON. Normally, CR3 creatures is an advanced creature. The advanced template, let's go ahead and Google that real fast. Advanced template, when? I wonder if it's on there. Okay, the advanced template. Quick rebuild, or the rebuild rules. +4 to all ability scores, and +2 to natural armor. Effectively, what does this mean? Increase its armor class by 4. Increase every other number by 2. That's the short of it. This creature specifically is incorporeal, so it doesn't get a natural armor bonus, so it doesn't take advantage of that. It does get the bonus HP, so you add double this number here to its HP pool, and it doesn't do any extra damage, but it does have a bonus to hit. However, it is an incorporeal creature, so while it does not get it doesn't get the natural armor bonus, they do, incorporeal creatures, get the charisma bonus to their armor class. So this effectively has an armor class 15. The reason this creature is so deadly is because it does 1d4 points of strength damage on touch. Now, if you remember, our boy Agamu, he's rocking a 7th strength score. So on average, 2 touch attacks, again, keeping in mind your touch AC is ridiculously low, 10 plus your dexterity, plus minor relevant bonuses, so around 10 plus your dexterity, hit you. This thing has, what, like a 75% chance, especially being advanced, of hitting you? Maybe closer to 60 to 80% chance, depending on your dexterity, for chance of hitting you. And it kills you in 2 attacks. Not only does it kill you in 2 attacks, 1d4 rounds later, if you die, you come back as a shadow. Normally, strength damage can't kill you. However, shadows are special. Not only that, it's incorporeal. Mundane weapons cannot hurt this thing. So, magical weapons and magical spells only do half damage. Good news, however, force damage, such as damage from the force bombs I throw, or the non-acid alkahest bombs, channel energy do full damage, and I mean those are the big 2. And we have a magic weapon already on our creatures. So I'm not going to roll this encounter out. I know that these can be dangerous, but given that we have both access to lesser restoration to heal ourselves up afterwards, and the ability to injure this thing quite easily. Also, we're assisted by a 2nd level Pharasman cleric who can channel energy. No, it doesn't do much, admittedly, but it does a little bit of damage on top of that. This creature should be dead. Let's see how high it rolled in initiative. Let's roll a d20. It would have rolled really high, so it would have touched somebody to begin with. But after that, I would have got mollywomped into the ground. However, This shadow, or shadows, are known to be a relatively common creature in low-level adventures. You have to be prepared for them. So, what does that mean? It means I've seen them encounter in books or in first-level games. First-level games before you're expected to have a magic weapon. Usually they'll give you a magic weapon, but it's just brutal. There are some encounters that are just poorly designed. This is not one of them in this case. Your fourth level, you should be able to deal with the shadow. It's just rough. So, the PCs, we of course save Ball from the Raging Shade, and she offers us a fully charged wand of Cure Light Wounds in thanks. If we return with supplies later, Ball will give us an additional reward donated by the local residents, including some money. Before we leave, though, her leadership is going to rally the troops holding the gate. Her level-headedness and calmness helps the surrounding, reducing panic by 1d4. The guards are bolstered with extra supplies eventually, will also reduce the panic by 1d4. If the shadows is not defeated, it'll only raise panic by 1. That seems ridiculous, because shadows can quickly breed out of control. Introducing one shadow into an average town is enough to completely devastate the town. Because an average commoner dies in like 2 or 3 touches, which turns into another shadow. Then those shadows each touch another commoner 2 or 3 times, turning into another shadow. So on and so forth, increasing exponentially. This one shadow could have, in theory, doomed the entire town. Well, except for the harassments, but it would have been a substantial issue in helping doom the entire town. I think it's worth way more than 1 panic level. I guess maybe the reason it would only have raised by 1 panic level is it would have, or because it's assumed that after a little bit of the problem happens a little bit, it would keep itself alive. Also, the shadow may have some sense of self-preservation. They're just mindlessly going around touching things, that they are not unintelligent. However, what I would like to do with Agamu before we go, as we were told there was hundreds, dozens, if not hundreds, of undead just outside the wall. How big are the walls? Regardless, I think we climb up to the top of the wall, dangle Agamu down a little bit so he's like, what, 15, 20 feet in the air, have him burst a channel or two, just into the crowd of mindless undead. Because everything within 30 feet, especially low-level zombies, skeletons, will just die. Ghouls are likely to die as well on top of that. Any of the basic mindless things that are out there, within a 30-foot radius of him, just explode. So I can deal with, what, a dozen per channel? Even if I blast maybe, what, 3 channels off, we're probably going to rest before we go into the necropolis proper. I feel like it's a fair idea to deal with this. And if we do just enough, maybe it will disperse the crowd and help give a resurgence. This is one of those ideas that, first off, sounds cool in my head, dangling from, or going on the top of the walls and saying, "Die!" and just channeling energy, destroy the undead. That sounds cool, but not only that, it makes sense in terms of roleplay to award the PCs in this instance an additional reduction of panic level in exchange for the expenditure of resources and the good roleplay in this case. So that's what I'll do. Still, something to keep in mind, Balthem is another character that is viable as a leadership follower later. Again, she needs some retraining. She has dodge and skill focus defeat, and she's only a second level harassment. However, being capable of leadership, leading the defense of the walls, being only second level, when other people have abandoned their post, coming from commoner origin and rising in times of crisis, that's cool. That's a cool character. Keep them. I would keep them in mind for later. Okay. Eventually, though, we start walking down towards the Wadi's Asp district. As we approach this area, any character who succeeds on a DC 10 perception check hears an unseasonable boom of thunder ahead, even though the skies are clear. However, we are entitled to a will save when we hear that. Agamu, with his monstrous will saves, is going to easily make that, and now disbelieve that illusion. Okay. And he disbelieves, so I guess the only one who has a reasonable chance, who actually can succeed on this, is going to be Cyprus. I do not believe that is a... He doesn't disbelieve it. Or he does disbelieve it, now he needs to roll Knowledge Arcana. 32. He recognized that as a ghost sound cantrip. Ghost sound seems odd. Allows you to create a volume that rises, recedes, fixed place. As much noise as 4 humans per caster level. I don't think 4 humans per caster level is enough. So what, 15, 20 humans is enough to make the sound of a thunderclap. But, writer's priority, it's fine. They need some way to alert the PCs of something going on. I'll let them get away with it. Let me go ahead and read through the rest. Blah, blah, blah. Just finished preparing. Okay. So it seems like there is an angry... There's a woman standing next to a wheelbarrow, surrounded by a bunch of locals with pitchforks. Looking in the wheelbarrow, there seems to be a zombie currently struggling, though quite bound up within ropes. It seems, with a quick listen to the conversation, the woman seems to be the origin of the thunderclap noises. The pig farmers seem to be thinking she has something to do with the necromancy, considering she's wheelbarrowing around a zombie. So our party is going to step in. Nagamu's going to speak up. Ho, citizenry. I see that you're worried, and something is obviously going wrong here. Before we start stabbing anybody, why don't we ask the good woman what she's doing with a wheelbarrow in a zombie? Because I don't know if you know this, or how many necromancers you've encountered in your time. Normally, they don't walk around with a zombie in a wheelbarrow. They have them under their direct control, and don't need this sort of obtuse machinery to deal with them. So let's ask her what's going on, and figure out if we can get things solved before resorting to violence. Does that sound agreeable to everyone? At this point, we're going to make a diplomacy check. I'm going to take 10 on it with Agamu. Let's go ahead and see Agamu's take 10. He is rocking a 14. Plus, presumably, guidance he cast before he arrived. So, nah, we don't need guidance. We'll go ahead and mark that as a success. The crowd will stand back and allow the woman to explain. My name is, Hosep Na'an. This is, I'm, a caster of some repute, or some ability. I was just recently, or this here is my husband. Yes, I understand the current state he's in. However, what happened, I was currently in the process of burying him for his funeral, before he suddenly, miraculously, rose from the dead, and seemed to start moving about. Of course, I recognized, signs of basic undeath to begin with. So that's obviously why I bound him up. However, this is nothing if not a sign from the gods. The man I was set to bury rose from the grave? It seems as if the gods were calling out that there is some way to fix him. So I wish to bring him back to my workshop and currently study. And figure out what things are going, or figure out if there's some way to restore his mind. Cypress is going to roll knowledge religion. Because he goes, that doesn't sound right. Okay, Cypress, I know. As an unintelligent undead, he's a basic zombie, yes? No signs of any form of intelligence, whether memories of his past life or otherwise? No form of intelligence at all. Seemingly completely mindless. Well, unfortunately for you, good madam, that is possibly the worst case scenario. If they're risen, or if they rise as an unintelligent undead, that means likely their soul, but any soul, has been implanted within the flesh of the body, and bound to it in such a way that getting an intelligence is not something within the realms of mortal magic, or basic mortal magic. If he was already dead and more powerful magic was used, it is possible that some intelligence may have been restored to him, making him some sort of zombie lord or skeletal champion in that case. But assuming, of course, that they are, or it already has lost all semblance of intelligence, that means its soul has been shattered or separated and scarred to such a degree that beyond life-restoring magic that only the highest of priests are capable of, his intelligence is, or I guess a deific intervention, his intelligence is always going to stay such as this. Gamu will speak up. What the man says is true. Or at the very least, if he says it, I believe it. He is one of the most learned on undead out of everyone I've ever known. And given what he has stated, and the fact that he is a zombie and unable to return to his intelligence, unfortunately that means your husband is no more. The best thing you can do is let his soul pass on to Pharasma, and let him be judged and taken to his eternal paradise. Beyond the obvious implications of practicing necromancy on an undead within the Pharasman city, the current situation seems to just be animating every corpse in the city, not just your husband. So, while you may have seen it as a gift from the gods, the timing of it seems to be more of a coincidence than anything else. And if anything happens to go wrong with this, not only will he be a threat to you, but everybody you care about. And if he gets out even beyond this, bad things could happen. Beyond that, we and others are looking for a solution to end this situation. So, assuming, of course, we are successful, likely I'm hoping all of the undead that have been animated in the city will fall back into their eternal slumber. At which point, whatever happens to your husband will be the same as before. So, best case scenario is to settle things down, let things go as they are, and at the very least, if your husband passes on to the great beyond before the rest of these souls, maybe it'll allow him to jump the queue and get to Pharasma a little bit sooner. I go ahead and take 10 on my diplomacy check. I'll allow my party members to assist me, specifically Cypress, because he gave a very, very good roll. Unfortunately, he failed to assist. I will allow situational bonuses for good roleplay. Specifically, this is a difficult DC because she is unfriendly, so it's a DC 24. And for some reason, the situation, because of the strained emotions involved, apparently every attempt is made with a -2 penalty. I don't know why they just don't increase the DC to diplomacize by 2 as opposed to making a penalty. Regardless, some of the rest of the party would need to speak up to try and provide the assistance. How assistance works in diplomacy in my mind, or in bluff, or in intimidate, someone has to say something meaningful to add to the conversation. I can't just say, yeah, I agree with him, and rule. It can allow, early on, for example, if you have someone who's like a fighter without ranks in diplomacy and is very bad at it, and someone who's like a sorcerer or a bard or something that is a new player and not familiar with roleplay, you can have them just kind of like a yeah, what he said, and roll the check. But as time goes on and they become more familiar with the game, you're trying to encourage them to try and get involved in the roleplay, take the arguments for themselves. For example, Atis will say something along the lines of, the most pressing matter is your own life. Your husband wants you to fall into necromancy and be labeled as an apostate of the church and be hunted down by the Pharasmans just to try and bring him back. Passed on, blah, blah, blah. She'll roll. But give everybody a chance to speak up. Try not to let the same person always take over and do the roleplay. So yeah, +5 there, or +2 will be enough for Agamus to take it out, and she will stand down. Several days later, she'll eventually invite their Pisces to their office in the Hall of Blessed Rebirth and reward them what's left of the savings from our husband's funeral. A potion of Cure Mod, 2 scrolls of Levitate, a scroll of Ray of Exhaustion, a scroll of Silent Image, and some money. Situation is no ordeal. That's dumb. So we get a bunch of scrolls and potions, most of which we're not going to use, and a little bit of money, or we get a 500 gold piece onyx statue if we fight her but leave her alive and just kill the zombie. I think it's dumb. Regardless, I will reduce panic by 2 further levels. And next up, we go to the old encounter takes place in an old courthouse near the precinct of Left Eyes, the headquarters of Wati's Town Guard. PCs may visit their location on their own if they're trying to contact the guards or the residents. Yeah, okay. The low sandstone building, worn from centuries of exposure, stands amongst the larger, more recent structures and constructions. Statues lining the walls hold swords, scales, but fresh corpses scattered around on the street outside the doors hint at something far darker within. Apparently, each of them has had one eye removed. All of the corpses outside with a basic heal check. They died from shock soon after. So their eyes were removed from. So they all have one eye removed. With the heal check, we can reveal the bruises and signs of restraint, and they died from shock soon after their eyes were revealed. A knowledge local history check that is trivial again for us is a knowledge check DC 15. I don't think we can fail that at this point. Knowledge history or local. Yeah, local DC 15, we can't even fail that. So when I say trivial, that means any check I can take 10 on and automatically succeed on. We recall at one point centuries ago, Justice and Wati took only 2 forms, loss of an eye and death. Okay, let's go ahead and read through this. Okay. So a man, apparently, is sitting upon a judge, it looks like. Well, I say it looks like. It's a man that looks very unjudge-like. The old snipping tool. Cut off his head so we don't see the spoiler combat. Man is sitting in the judge's throne with a number of other skeletons milling about the room. Their bones seem a bit off. Currently presiding over a court, there seems to be a person, a skeleton, or some a skeleton where the prosecutor would go, and a human standing chained to the table, where a bloody table, by the way, where the defendant would go. They are currently trying to defend themselves against the crime of usurping the courtroom. However, as the PCs stroll in, we'll look around the room and go, you know what? No, not having it. And we will burst channel and kill basically everything in the room. The first channel is going to deal with the exploding skeletons. Will we identify... Actually, okay, Gamu and Cypress. Let's see if we can... Gamu... Okay, so Cypress would identify their exploding skeletons first. So we would have to remove... Or we would have to wait until they move out of the way of the basic people. But it's just a d6 points of damage. Reflex 12 for half. No big deal. They attack with their claws, they death burst when they die. Once they're out of the ray of the helpless NPC, we burst them, and then we deal with old One Eye. He does fast heal. We identify him as a bloody dread skeleton aristocrat. What the heck? Let's see, 20 plus. Yeah, okay. We easily identify both skeleton types. Even on a 1, we'll identify what an exploding skeleton is. They're relatively common. Not a DC 5, but a DC 10 plus, I don't know, 1 for needing a minimum 1 CR. But bloody skeletons, the most important thing is you need a holy water or something to take them down permanently. So we'll pack all, otherwise they regenerate after 1 hour. We'll pack all the bones in a bag that's going to constantly bleed, and then we're going to take them to the Pharasmans. Again, another trivial encounter. Cool thing about this encounter, though, if we weren't just like, look, undead, murder. There is actually an optional opportunity if you want to fight the bailiffs another way. If you were listening in or somehow looked over the conversation and saw what was happening, or if you didn't, if there wasn't, the reason I put the NPC there is the reason I, as a GM, would put an NPC in this courtroom is to make you see what's going on. Technically, it doesn't state that there is an NPC in this room, but you want to give the player some indication that there's actually some sort of trial going on here. The judge, at the very least, sitting in presiding over good old One Eye Take, who saw his picture, he's actually, there's some form of counsel going on here. Judging, talking, speaking, legalese going on. There's a trial. Of course, it's a nonsense trial because everybody's found guilty thus far. But the players then have the opportunity to go forward and maybe defend this man. Gives the opportunity to listen and go, oh, maybe we can actually reason with this guy. And you can be set as, like, defending counsel. It gives you options to use beyond just profession. Barrister would be a good one. To bluff, diplomacy, intimidate, knowledge, look, or perform oratory, sense motive. Each check can only be attempted once. Can, of course, be aided by another. Confer with counsel, of course. Against this man's various skill checks. Why does he not have profession barrister? That's kind of dumb. Regardless, but it gives you the opportunity to roleplay this encounter away. However, our party specifically hates undead. Not as much as Pharasman may, but I don't want to reason with undead. The best thing you could do, or the best case scenario, is you'll just be allowed to leave. But that doesn't actually solve the issue. Maybe you just leave like a marking outside, undead inside. Your eye will get taken if you enter. Just some basic signage and then inform the Pharasmans. That's a way to deal with the encounter. But we just kill undead here. That's how we deal with problems. But most importantly, we got a Circlet of Persuasion as part of the gear. A Circlet of Persuasion is a very, very good item. Archives of Nethys. It is a head slot item, notably different than a headband item. It gives +3 competence bonus to all charisma-based skill checks. All charisma-based check. This includes skill checks, straight charisma checks, in case you need to roll charisma to try and like fight over someone's mental control. That's a thing that happens occasionally. But it's a very, very good item for its price. +3 to bluff, diplomacy, intimidate, use magic device, various perform checks. It's awesome. You'll end up finding this on a lot of different characters. The one downside is it is technically a item that is from... Its origins date back to Asmodeus, a god of devil, the lawful evil god of devils. It of course has extended way beyond that, but the origin of the item is with him. So some people may take offense to it in that regard. I've never had seen anybody have problems with it. I only discovered later that it came from Asmodeus after I played with it for a while. But with that, we've done every encounter in part 1. It means we'll have completed it, level up before we move on to part 2. Now, party has finished their adventuring day. I think we're good here. Actually, do we get bonuses for reducing... If any of PC's eyes have remove, okay. Ending old eye taker's reign of terror reduces panic level by 2. Brilliant. We're probably going to rest after this encounter and go off and adventure tomorrow. We also level up, so you could just give your PCs a, what is it called? A video game level up where they gain everything back. I don't want to do that because the panic level is a important condition. The only thing I might consider is because we successfully beat the Vanth, I might allow them a NPC level up just because that was a ridiculous encounter. Maybe that's kind of a reward for doing well. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. I'm not actively keeping track. I'm assuming right now that the players are not going to stop helping. We're just going to constantly fight and fight and fight. This is another one of those The problem with this system is where you just keep doing event after event after event. You don't have downtime to buy items. So in reality, we can only find common stuff that you might find at a Church of Pharasma. Or maybe the market was overrun. So yeah, the Church of Pharasma is really the only place to buy magic items. So even only the most common things are likely to be available to you. So overall, a bit of a downside, and you're not really going to get the opportunity to spend wealth until later. But as a GM, I would say the Pharasman Church will front them gold or diamond dust or trade goods or something. They'll give an IOU for any goods that the party is willing to bring in. In exchange, they can trade them out for relatively common items. Headbands, belts, maybe common weapons, or magical weapons. Spellcasting, because you Master Transformation is a thing you can do. Cloaks, another one. Ring, amulet of natural armor, maybe some common armor types, especially that clerks can wear. Chain shirts, breastplate, stuff like that. Those are the things that are within the realm of possibility to maybe find at a Pharasman temple. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to follow links down below if you want to see some of my content, and I will see you all next time.